Welcome, everyone, to the Pass Control Podcast, a show where a couple of best friends talk about the latest in video games and nerd culture. But this is a special bonus episode where we're going to dive deep into Persona 5 Royal with an all-star cast of amazing individuals. As always, I'm your host, Brennan Groom, and joining me on this fine evening is the anime senpai himself, Mr. Michael Azir. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
Akechi did nothing wrong.
Whoa, okay, we'll get into that. Also joining us on this lovely panel is Jesse Vitelli, writer at Prima Games.
I don't know if Akechi did nothing wrong. We might have to talk about that.
We're definitely going to talk about this. Also joining us, Cameron Hawkins, writer at DualShockers.
Top of the best girl, Yusuke best boy.
Just throwing out all these bad takes to start. Okay.
All facts I'm stating.
Also joining us, Jessica Howard, managing editor at Uppercut.
Hi, I'm gonna keep the mystery. I'm not gonna let anybody know how I feel right now. Gotta get into it.
I like it. Gotta set the tone. Gotta set the mood. And rounding us out on this lovely Persona 5 Royal Spoilercast is Michael Higham, editor, host at GameSpot.
You know what they said at GameSpot? They said Persona 5 Royal, 10 out of 10. You know the vibes.
I'm on board with that. So before we get into talking about this game in detail, I wanted to kind of set the tone for the listeners so that they can kind of get a feel for how everyone is with the Persona series. So what is your relationship with Persona as a series or Persona 5 in general? We can kick it off with Michael.
Which one are we talking?
Damn.
Michael Higham.
Okay. I'll keep. I'm known for talking for very great lengths, so I'll try and keep it short. So in 2017, let me take y'all back.
This game's amazing. You could talk about it all night.
This
also, you got the Joker mask tattoo?
Oh shit! Yeah, I guess.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you don't need to wear a Persona shirt. You're always wearing a Persona shirt. You're good.
I know. Damn. But yeah, so in 2017, Lucy James reviewed the game for GameSpot, and I was helping edit it, and I was like, oh, damn, this seems like something I should play. I had been kind of aware of it, especially because of the Giant Bomb Persona 4 Endurance run. It was a great time, but I didn't really understand Persona the series. And then the day it launched, I was like, I'm gonna play P5 myself. So I bought it, and I spent the next 3 months crying about my new best friends. And this is the time I was still new at GameSpot, so I was still getting to know everyone, and I didn't know anyone when I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area. So I was like, oh, these are my ride or dies. These are my homies now, the Phantom Thieves. Then during the summer, I had to go back home for just to go back home for the summer, and I was like, damn, I'm not finished with P5, but I still need that Persona. I need that energy in my life. So I went to go buy a used Vita at GameStop the day before I flew back home, and I bought Persona 4 Gold, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this a shot. I immediately fell in love with P4G, and then shortly after that, I started playing P3 Portable on that PS Vita that I bought used. And I was like, yo, I'm deep in this thing. And I also reviewed the Nintendo 2DS, and I was like, well, I'm gonna buy Persona Q, and I'm gonna play Persona 4 Dancing All Night. And it was a done deal, bro. Like, the thing is too, is I always been attuned to JRPGs like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 6 or 3 here in North America, and Super Mario RPG were the most formative games. But I kind of fell off of the whole, like, I guess the realm of RPGs at some point because I started playing a lot more shooters. I don't know. But then playing P5 kind of rekindled that, why I loved JRPGs so much.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's like a social sim too. And I had played visual novels in my past, but I never played a game where it married both the RPG elements and the turn-based combat that I love so much and the social sim elements. And that was a winning combo. And the motherfucking soundtrack, bro. There is, oh my god, I can't listen to the Persona 5 soundtrack without feeling like I'm gonna cry. So that's that on that.
I love it. Cam, what about you? What is your relationship with Persona 5?
Yeah, so I played the OG Persona 5 in 2018. But if I did play it in 2017, it definitely would have been my game of the year for sure. I played through Persona 5 Royal. And I did play a lot of Persona 4 Golden on Vita, but I unfortunately didn't get to end up finishing it. But I have a Vita again, and I have it on PC now. I'm definitely going to go back and complete that, and eventually go back to Persona 3 as well. And you know, I really enjoy. I love Persona. It's great. The music's great. The characters are great. It's just a great series. You know, you know, I'm not. I don't want to like. I have nothing to go on like a huge you know, timeline on, but I just love Persona, and I think it's a great series.
Okay. Jesse, what about you? What's Persona and Persona 5 for you?
So I knew nothing about the Persona series before Persona 5. It just like wasn't in my, wasn't on my radar. A while ago, a friend of mine, 2017, was like, "You got to check this game out. It looks really cool." Whatever. I was following a couple other gaming groups like Easy Allies and stuff, and they seemed super hype on it. So checked it out, fell in love with it. It was my 2017 game of the year, like #1 with a bullet. And then Royal came out, and I was like, I don't know. I played through 5. I don't know if I'm gonna, play it again. I ended up playing it again as I ended up here. So yeah, it just ended up falling like head over heels in love with the series. And I have P4G on Steam. I have not played it yet.
Okay. I haven't played Persona 4 Golden, but I feel like a lot of people are either P4G's #1 or P5 is #1, and it's like back and forth from the discourse that I see. So I think you're in for a treat either way. Jessica, what is Persona the series or Persona 5 to you?
So the first one that I ever played was Persona 4 Golden. I was working an incredibly boring job at a television station. I have to say incredibly boring because you say, I worked at a TV station, and people are like, oh, that's so cool. And it's like, not what I did. So I was working there, and I had a lot of downtime because I basically would monitor stuff to make sure things didn't go wrong. There were other things that I would do, but that was the bulk of it. So I was like, this was before the Switch, so I wanted something that I could take into work and play, and the Vita was it. And some games that are really time-consuming on Vita, that's Persona 4 Golden. So I started that up. I played through all of it at work, and I remember, I feel like you can always tell that something is really good when you finish it, and you're like, wow, I miss those characters. Like, I miss that. Like, I immediately want that back. Like, I'm sad that ended. And that's how I felt with Persona 4 Golden. I absolutely adored that game. It quickly shot up and became one of my favorites. I was so mad that like my favorite types of games are like time management sim games and RPGs, and I never played it. I was like, who did not tell me about this? And yeah, I immediately loved it. I was super excited for 5. I played 5 right when it came out. What's funny is I had Royal pre-ordered, and I was super stoked about getting like the collector's thing of that. And then by that point, I was like starting to get codes, and I didn't have to buy that game. And that was like the first big game that I was going to spend money on. Like, I was going to get like the big, I don't even know how much the collector's thing was for. It was the one with like the mask and all that stuff. And like, this is the first game that I'm super excited for that I don't have to buy. And that was a really cool feeling too.
Hell yeah. That's something that will probably stick with you forever too, is like,
yeah, like that was like the big one. Like, there are some other ones like later on this year, but that was the first one where I was like, oh, I've kind of made it a little bit.
No,
that's awesome. Mike, what about you? Your relationship with Persona 5 and the series in general?
Well, I'm only here because I main Joker in Smash. That's my connection to the game. That's all I'm there for. Let's see. I forget when it was. It was essentially, I played Persona 5 because it was on sale. It was like $20, and Brand's like, oh, Mike, you should buy this game. And I was getting my tires fixed at Pep Boys across the street. I'm like, all right, let me just go over there and pick this game up. Played it a little bit, stopped. Joker got announced for Smash. I was like, oh, I know this guy now because I was already playing this game. And Brendan and Todd were like, oh yeah, we're getting back into playing Persona 5. You should play it along too, and we'll talk about it. And I did, and they did not. And that's my story.
I think
How many times have you played it though?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mike, I think you're leaving out some important facts
Yeah.
here. Like
Yeah.
like, yes, that's the history of Persona, and like I was much later to getting into it, but how many times have you finished Persona at this point?
Have I finished Persona? Twice.
God damn.
But you've played it more than twice though, right?
I started a second run in both P5 and P5R, but I never finished either run.
Okay. So you've put a lot of time into the game. Like, I would, just knowing your like personal gaming habits, I would say that Persona 5 had an impact on you, that you put that much time into it.
Yeah, I guess. take your word for it.
You hate committing to stuff.
I mean, I hate The Sims 4, and I've put like 1,500 hours into it. It means nothing.
It's true. I mean,
How often do we play Overwatch still, even though we hate Overwatch?
Oh,
I don't hate Overwatch, Mike. That's you and Todd thing. I'm perfectly fine with saying I love Overwatch, even though it can be frustrating.
I love and hate that game so much, and 750 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. See, Jessica understands the pain, Mike. For me, Mike kind of touched on it. Persona 5 was always a game that I was interested in, but I didn't get a PS4 at launch because I'm not I always get everything, but usually I'm late on the PlayStation just because I typically play Xbox. I always get Nintendo stuff day one, but most of my friends that I play with online are on Xbox, so my typical gaming is over there. So I was waiting for the right reason to get a PS4, and that was God of War. So I got a PS4 then, and then I was like, well, perfect. Now I have a bunch of games that I need to catch up on, and Persona was one of those games that was kind of. I've never played a full Persona game, but I've always been interested in the series, and I always wanted to see if it was something that would click with me. I like JRPGs, and there was a lot of people really, really going to bat for Persona 5, so I was like, this is a game that I think I might actually enjoy. And to kind of go off what Mike had said that I kind of convinced him to get it, and then I fell off of it, and he kind of played through the whole thing, and for a long time, him and I joked about I'll finish it soon and we'll do a spoiler cast. I'll finish it soon. We'll do a spoiler cast. And this is years now of I'll finish it and not happening. I put about 40 hours into vanilla and never went back to it because at that point Royal had gotten announced, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just get Royal and play Royal when Royal comes out. So Royal finally came out, and I was talking to Mike, I talked to Cam about it. I'm like, do I just finish vanilla or do I get Royal? What are the differences? Do I need to do this? And they both told me to just get Royal. And I was like,
get Royal.
But I was like, I got to throw away 40 hours. 40 hours to me, I have to play so many things. That's such precious time that I don't want to throw away. And I don't regret a second of it, even though it took me 188 hours to beat Royal. But that was I got so invested in the characters, so invested in the world, and I really liked to just take I know the game always tells you take your time on the loading screens and stuff, but I actually took my time in this world. I just really enjoyed a lot of the game, and I really didn't want it to end. I wanted it to end because I wanted to be on the other side of it and be able to talk about it with everyone and see how the story plays out, but I also didn't want it to end. And I don't care about PlayStation trophies, but I platinumed this game, and that's not a thing that I usually care about doing, but I was like, this game is special to me, and it'll definitely go down. It's in my top list of games of all time. I don't know where it would land, but it's something special that I really, really enjoy. I'm looking forward to Scramble, or I guess what is it called now? Strikers. So I'm really excited to jump back into this world in February, and I really hope that Persona 6. Well, we'll get to that. But all right, so now that we know where kind of everyone stands with the series and with Persona 5 in general, I figured it's kind of a waste of time to go through beat for beat the plot of the game. I feel like anyone that's listening to this kind of already knows what I would imagine knows what's going on in the game, so we don't really need to go over that too much. But I think it would be good to kind of just, without honing in on any specific aspect of the game, to kind of just freeform talk about what we liked about the game, what we didn't like about the game, stuff we could have thought could have been better, or what have you. So if anyone wants to kick it off, wherever we want to go with this conversation.
Shit. I can kick it off. So if we're talking about overall thoughts about P5R specifically, I say this a lot when I talk about how I feel about the game, and specifically in relation to my review of it, is that I went into it thinking, okay, if y'all are going to re-release this game, Atlas does this all the time with enhanced versions of their existing games, but if y'all are going to ask us to pay another $60 on the same platform for this game, I'm going to this looking for the justifications for that. So it's not just the new content, how does it change the experience? Is it meaningful? Like, is it going to change the way I feel about the Persona 5, and is it going to be the thing that makes me recommend this over the base game, which is obviously much cheaper at that point and right now? So it's okay. Like, how are you justifying Royal as a re-release of this game? So I had a very keen eye on the new characters like Kasumi and Maruki. Like, do they exist just to exist, kind of like Maria in P4G? Sorry. So I've thought really, really hard about what the third semester meant, what Maruki and Kasumi added to the overall conversation, the overall story beats. And the thing I love so much about P5R is that, and I know Cam, and I know you're going to disagree with this, and it's okay because I love you, but I feel like that it's kind of like the new story beats were being built in plain sight the entire time. So when you get to the final semester, it kind of, all the pieces fall together like rather in like a quick pace. So all the stuff that I've been paying attention to, like, oh, I got this new confidant route with Kasumi, and I got this new confidant route with Maruki. Like, oh, and I dig what they're about. I don't really know what Kasumi's like. I don't know what she's about quite yet, even though I'm towards the end of the game. Then when you make it to the new content, everything that's been building up just falls into place so nicely. And once everything clicks, I was like, let's fucking go. Like, I just felt this immense such an immense feeling that something that was already one of my favorite games of all time it's being recontextualized. There's something genuinely new about it. And it's not like, my favorite thing about Persona 5 is that maybe it's not as deep as you might want it to be, but at the end of the day, you're beating the shit out of some fucked up people and essentially, you know, changing the world for the better. It's not always on point with that message, but overall, I feel like it executes it really well in a way that connects with the people who play it, which is why we get so attached to it. And we get so attached to the characters, their struggles, and how they persevere and, you know, save the world at the end of the day. The third semester just takes a different tone to where it's not just about beating the shit out of like an authoritarian or an abuser or something like that. And the thing, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but it's just such a different tone, but yet it fits so perfectly into the overall messages and the overall tones and themes that Persona 5 already had in the first place. And yeah, I really like how the game ends up using Kasumi and Maruki as new characters, as the stars of this new content, and I really feel like it does fit extremely well with the game. And it's not like people say, okay, or they ask, like, could this have been DLC? And the answer is no, because like I said, the whole reason why this new semester, this new chapter exists is because it was built throughout the base game, and I really, really like that about Royal. And the new music is fire.
Yeah, the new music is good.
As DLC, you'd miss all of the breadcrumbs and build-up that make it worth it. So I completely agree with that.
Am I the only person who did not finish Vanilla? Everybody played Vanilla but me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. I just wanted to make sure, because I had a feeling that was the case, but I wanted to make sure I was the only loser. So I kind of agree with you. I'm on the fence. I mean, I obviously don't have the actual playthrough myself of Vanilla, but I'm like hit or miss with some of how the additional semester was. Like, I like Kasumi, I kind of like Maruki. What I like the most about the additional stuff is like when you get the reveal about Kasumi's that she's actually her sister. Like, that I was not expecting that. That like
Spoilers
took me for a loop. And I enjoyed that a lot. It made me see that character in a completely different way, and I thought it was executed well. And I like the concept of Maruki, because like I love Death Note, and like I don't know if everyone's familiar with Death Note or not, but I love the concept of Light Yagami, with like he has a god complex, and I feel like Maruki kind of in the same scenario. They're a little bit different, but I feel like he also has a god complex. But I also feel like he's kind of a good nemesis for the Phantom Thieves, because I guess they also kind of have a god complex. Like, they're also kind of like Light Yagami, and they're also kind of like Maruki, because they're changing people's hearts, thinking, and they are, I think we can all agree that they try to err on the side of morality, and they're trying to, you know, right people's wrongs or change people who are bad. So I think it's easy to kind of agree with them that they're doing the right thing. But Maruki is also trying to do the right thing, and he thinks he's doing the right thing. But whether we agree with it or not, clearly the Phantom Thieves don't agree with what he's doing, which is, you know, altering everyone's reality to be their ideal, you know, life. I like that concept of, I have this power, I'm going to try to do something that I think is right, but I feel like there's something missing for me, for Maruki, or maybe his motivations for doing what he's doing, that didn't like connect fully with me. But I don't hate the third semester at all. I mean, clearly I have a lot of Persona merchandise because I've like fallen in love with everything about Persona just from playing this one game. But I think that for me is when I look at the differences between vanilla and royal, if we're speaking just on like what did this add to the game, I feel like there's something that misses for me a little bit. Like if I had played vanilla, I don't know if I'd still feel the same about royal. But who knows? I'll never know because I didn't play vanilla first.
One of life's great mysteries now.
I feel like
I think that you.
Oh, go ahead.
I think that you touch on, though, with what you said, kind of my biggest issue with Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal as a whole, which is, and it's like my biggest issue, and the thing that I love about it the most is that it is not afraid to touch messy subjects. It's not afraid to talk about, you know, and I guess trigger warning to anybody listening, because it does talk about sensitive things, but it's not afraid to talk about like misogyny and sexual assault and sexual harassment and power and like abuse of power, and all of these issues that can be incredibly sensitive. Like, and even, you know, Atlas has always kind of done that. They've always been, it feels weird to call them progressive, but in a sense progressive, because they do touch on these subjects, just not the most gracefully. And I think that that's the thing with maybe your frustrations with Maruki, is like, they touch on things and then don't always go as deep as they need to go in order to make it more impactful.
Yeah, maybe that's a good way of putting it. I might agree with you there. That's what it is.
And I know that with Maruki, it's like the reason why he starts doing this, I believe, it's been so long since I've played now, is doesn't his fiance or his wife, her parents end up being murdered, and so she's like traumatized, and he does it to help her because she's really upset. I think that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she, whatever happened with her, it traumatized her to the point where she didn't even remember him. And he saw that she felt better that way. He's like, oh, you know, if you take away everything related to this trauma, the person, you know, does great.
And I love that you brought up, like, it's interesting because like what Royal adds does fit so well, but in such a different way, because we're no longer looking at like, I mean, it's still an abuse of power situation, and Persona 5 at its core is all about power, who has it, and how do they use it. And kind of like the judgment that you have to have over that. Because I mean, even when you play Persona, you kind of have to have your own feelings on the matter. You have to be able to take a step back and be like, is what I'm doing kind of fucked up? Like, you know, and so this adds to that, but in a more empathetic way, as opposed to just like, you're a bad adult, you're a bad politician, whatever. You know, it's like, what do we do when someone is using it for what they think is good?
Yeah. Which I think is like always a very interesting take. Like I brought up the Light Yagami thing. Like I feel like he's such a good, compelling character because he really thinks that he's doing the right thing, and like, you know, maybe he is doing some good by cleaning certain, you know, getting rid of certain people. But I feel like there was just something, and maybe it was just not a deep enough dive into Maruki that like kind of left me wanting more of a justification for why he is the way he is or why he's doing what he's doing. I'm surprised Cam hasn't jumped in because I know Cam has some issues with the royal content specifically.
Ooh.
I'm listening. Y'all, you know, I'm just listening because, you know, I might change my mind.
You hate it's the hook shot, right?
But What?
It's the hook shot. That's the beef, right?
The hook shot?
Yeah, like, or what is it?
His grappling hook.
Oh, the grappling hook. Oh no, the grappling hook is great. Great addition.
You can tell I play too much Zelda. I call it hook shot, but yeah, grappling hook.
Yeah, I mean, like, you guys make some interesting points. I still feel like pretty strongly about still about how I feel about the royal content. Like, I don't know. I think because I love Persona 5. Like, I was legitimately like on the verge of tears when that game rolled credits, and we were saying goodbye to that cast, and so I knew Persona 5 Royal was going to be great. Like, I knew that was going to be like one of my favorite games once I was done with it. But I think I just got way too high of expectations when it came to the Royal content, because I didn't finish it until like a month or two ago. And that's because I got to Size Palace, I want to say. And then I dropped it because I was just like, I need to catch up on other games, and so I got back to it a few months ago and finally finished it. And but like early on, like, Barrett Courtney, like, just like his like he's saying like his reaction to who the palace ruler was for the new palace, and like just other people like Jesse, like, because he finished Persona 5 Royal like by the time we talked about Final Fantasy 7 remake. So I was just like okay, like how, like, and he said like, you got to finish it, you got to talk to me about it, like things like that. So I had like really high expectations, and they just didn't meet. And so that's one factor into it. I really liked Maruki throughout the game. I liked Kasumi as well. But I don't know, it was just one of those things where, like, to me, especially more so from playing the original, like, that it felt obviously shoehorned in. Like, granted, it didn't they didn't do it poorly per se, but it was just like, it just like felt like that it just didn't feel like a part of the original vision of the game to me, where I was just like, okay, but when are we actually going to get to the new stuff? Like, I didn't know that like all of the new stuff was going to be like, all the thick of it with Kasumi and Maruki was going to be at the very end of the game. And I was just like, so even though you should have to play through the game, from the beginning, like, it doesn't work as a DLC. I kind of wish it did, because it was just like, I love Persona 5, but like, if there wasn't a Royal, like, I probably wouldn't have played that game again for like at minimum 5 years, because it's such a long game. So it's just like, I'm playing the same game. Not a whole lot has changed in my opinion. Like, I think the quality of life stuff is great, but it just wasn't enough for me to be like, to fully justify playing through the entire base game again. And I honestly, like, going into it, I honestly thought like the last palace ruler was going to be Sojiro. Like, I just had this like feeling that I was just like, if it's anyone of the base cast, it's Sojiro, and
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I started up Persona 5 Royal and I saw Maruki and I was like, I'm attracted to him. He's bad.
That's your detector, right?
There's something here.
Yeah. It's like, do I have feelings for this man?
No, but I did have, like, I think when it got to the point where Kasumi got her persona, I like had a feel like, I was like, it's Maruki. I knew it was Maruki, because like, oh, okay, so Kasumi's finally got stuff going on, so this is obviously Maruki's palace. But I was just like, how was that going to be incorporated? I don't think it was incorporated like badly per se, but it was just one of those things. Like, I really liked Kasumi as a character, and it just really sucked that like there was such little time with her. And again, like, I think that Maruki's like plan, and this isn't, I don't think, from like Maruki's way of thinking, but just like from a fundamental, like, how Atlas like did this whole like cognitive, like, perfect cognitive reality where everything like that is like perfect, basically. It fundamentally doesn't make sense, because the Phantom Thieves would not exist. Their motivations to join the Phantom Thieves would not be here in this reality. So why would they know each other? They shouldn't know each other. Morgana should not be here. No one should know anybody outside of like maybe some like passing by school interactions.
But they don't know each other. Well, they like know each other for school, but they don't know anything about the Phantom Thieves. Like, Joker is the one that that makes them remember like this non-cognitive place that they're in with Maruki.
I don't think that's fully
I
true.
I might be misremembering it, but I think how it plays out is they all know that they're Phantom Thieves. It's just that he has to prod them to remember why they were Phantom Thieves. Like when they started thinking, for instance, with Yusuke, he was talking about Madarame, and they were talking, and then it started to click with him. It's like, oh no, I joined the Phantom Thieves because Madarame used me. Something along those lines.
Yeah, and it's one of
what the
and for me, that did not make sense to me. That like I was just like, no, you guys should not know each other. You fundamentally should not know each other.
Do you feel like it was like too easy of a way to like work that in? That's the feeling I'm getting from like your way you're talking about it.
I don't think it's really that, but like just immediately when they bring up the Phantom Thieves again, like I was just like, wait, like it clicked. I was like, wait, you shouldn't know. We shouldn't know each other. Like who? Like like it doesn't make any sense. Like Morgana shouldn't be here anymore. Like all these things. So just from a fundamental level, I didn't like that. And I think that there is some like argument that you could justify that like Maruki's kind of just a bad antagonist, like in his plan. Like because I do think that there are like just general like flaws kind of across the board. Like even though he thinks like he has this power, that doesn't mean like he's not omnipotent. You know what I mean? Like he's not like all knowing, so he could make mistakes, and that could be one of the mistakes that he made. So there is an argument there for that. But just for me, especially because they don't mention it at all, I'm just like, no, that doesn't make any sense for me. And also like I kind of liked the way things wrapped up with Akechi originally. And while I do think that there is some interesting things that they do with Akechi, I also got that vibe with Akechi in the Royal content where he's just like, yo, like I want out of this. Like I'm done with all of this. And so bringing him back after that, after all that, and then him being like, I don't know, like he didn't like bluntly say it, but I just got that vibe like, let's fix this, and I don't want to see any of you fuckers again. Like I want out. And I think that was kind of like, and I think that they tease that, especially if you max out Akechi's thing where Joker's on the train and the shot, like like the, not a silhouette, but you see like the torso down of assumingly Akechi. We don't get confirmation there because they give you that idea, like they very much assume that like, hey, if we fix this reality, Akechi's gonna be dead like he's supposed to be. But like then that happens, it's like, okay, well, so it's just one of those things where with Akechi, because I think that like that was kind of the most like interesting bit for the Royal content for me was Akechi, that like it just felt like unnecessary to bring him back at all, because at the end of the day it felt like he just didn't want any part of this. So there's that as well. But I really liked Maruki leading up to the new stuff. But like another thing that I found really funny was he would keep asking you like these questions, like, and they felt like the same questions that he was asking you. And every time you deny him, he was shocked about it. And it's like, you've asked me this like the 10th time now. And I'm like, why are you surprised still? Like, I'm not gonna change my mind on this, or like, they're not gonna change their mind on this. But like, he always seemed shocked by it. And I'm just like, what? And again, like I think it's just kind of that argument of like Maruki's kind of a bad antagonist. Like he just doesn't really, I don't consider Maruki or Akechi for that matter a villain. I consider them more of an antagonist, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like where I felt with the Royal content. It's just one of those things like it just felt very much like this was not a part of the original vision. I think that the ending of the base game is much stronger than the ending of like Maruki's stuff, in like the sense of scope and stakes and all that stuff. So I don't know. I still think I still love Persona 5 Royal. I think it's great. But it is one of those things where if someone were to ask me which one I would recommend, I would say Persona 5 Royal, but begrudgingly, just because of the quality of life things, the showtime, combat stuff. You can go out earlier at night, all those great quality of life improvements. And I felt the same way about Catherine Full Body. Like when they did that, I was like, the Rin stuff was like like if you're following one of Rin's routes, she's apologies, he's there. If not, then he's gone. Rin's gone for the rest of the story, because it's like, in even that sense, like the director said, this was supposed to be the original vision of the game, but you know the scope, you know, or like the social stuff with Rin wasn't, like, you know, Japan wasn't at that point where like they felt comfortable doing it, or some bullshit excuse. So, but even so, it's just like, you know, if you go with Catherine, Rin's not there. So it's just like, I don't know. It just felt very much like this wasn't a part of the original vision. I wish that they just did the quality of life things and kept the you know, the base game how it is. I like Kasumi, I like Maruki, but I like, as a overall experience, if you would have like asked me, do I like or do I dislike the Royal stuff, I would say, like, and specifically the third semester, I would say I dislike it. But I still think, like, overall, it's a great experience. It's one of the best JRPGs I've ever played. You know, it's a must-play game. But those are my current feelings specifically about the Royal stuff.
It's
I'm
so
sorry
funny.
that was so long-winded.
No, it's funny that you say that you kind of over-expected for Royal, because for me, I way under-expected. And that's because with Persona 4 Golden, I never played Persona 4, but I knew what Golden added. And like, I knew like and it kind of was more of just like a tack on the end sort of thing. And like everything that it really tacked on was like so fan servicey and like not anything more to the game. So with Royal, I was just expecting like, yeah, more sexy. It sounds so fucked up. I would say more like, you know, sexy high school student time, because that's like really what I was expecting. Like, because like in Golden, it's like they have like the Valentine's Day shit, and like like they I think, I don't remember if going to like the mountain trip is like part of it, but they have all those like fun little things. So in my mind, I was just like, cool, I get to hang out with my favorite characters a little longer. Like them adding all that other stuff, I was like, icing on the cake. Sweet, you guys actually like made it for people who are real gamers and not just anime fan service losers like me. So, but yeah, and then as far as like, I don't know, I like Maruki. Kasumi, I like Kasumi's plot beats. As a character, I could take her or leave her. Honestly, she's another character to me like An. I fucking love An. I don't want you to think that I don't like An when I say that. She's probably my favorite character. But they have a tendency to do women really dirty. And Kasumi felt like that to me, where it's like, there's like pieces of something really good and deep and meaningful here. Like with An, like that's how I feel about her. Like I love An to death, and I feel like they do her so dirty, because like there is so much that they could do about like owning your sexuality, and like how difficult, this sounds so stupid, but like the difficulties of being someone who is attractive and because of that is constantly taken as a joke and belittled. And it's like they touch on that so surface level, but then don't actually go into it with meaning. And like they make it to where it's like she goes through this whole thing of being frustrated with that, and then they throw her in they throw a 15-year-old girl in like a leather catsuit, and it doesn't even feel like it's really her choice as much as it's just like the game developer's choice to put her in that. You know, it'd be different if it was like her owning that, but it doesn't feel like that. And even with Yusuke later on during like the drawing bit and having to take off her clothes, and how the guys just like volunteer her for that, and like there's no consent, there's no her like, yeah, I can do this, like I can play, you know, it doesn't, she's always forced into these situations. And so like that's something that frustrates me with An. And with Kasumi, you get some of that too, with like, you know, her like some of like the weight, you know, issues and the competitiveness and like being in that kind of arena, and like you get a little bit with An's modeling, but they never go deep enough. So for me, Kasumi was just another character where I'm like, okay, so we have another pretty driven girl who has the inklings of something really great and a really good story, but we're not going to go there again. Once again, you know, that's how I felt even going to Catherine Full Bodied. Like when I played that game, it was the same thing. I was like, okay, this is better than the original, because no longer, I mean, the original is all about like the virgin and the slut. You know, if you want to go to like typical stereotypes and like how it's portrayed, it's like you have Catherine, who's his girlfriend, who wants to be a wife, who's nagging and controlling and uptight and blah, blah, blah. And then you have sexy Catherine, who's devilish and blah, blah, blah. And so like in the new one, they added a bit more nuance to that. but it's still not enough. It's like, okay, you've made like the other Catherine slightly better, but you're still keeping, like, we know the premise. And like, they always do that to women characters. And as a woman, it sucks. So seeing Kasumi, I was like, I know what the deal is here. I know what you're doing. Still kind of sucks.
It's that's kind of my issue with Kasumi too. Like from a gameplay standpoint, I like Mike will laugh when I say this, but there was a point in the game whenever Kasumi joins your party for the first time, I texted Mike and I was like, "Oh, Mike, who do you use in your party? Because like I'm definitely rolling with like this, and Kasumi." And he like laughed, and I was like, "Why are you laughing?" Because then Kasumi leaves, and that was like my biggest problem with Kasumi was like, I just want this character to stay in the game. Like I hate this. Here's a tease, and now we're back to playing just basically vanilla with quality of life stuff. And I feel like they do some interesting things with Kasumi's story in the third semester. But like because you have the game, the full base game with like you said, they bring up these ideas of a driven person who's being weighted down by all these other things, whether it be her weight or this or that or her drive, and they give some sort of an explanation, but it's way too late. It's the end of the game, and it's not even like a full real reason. It's like, oh, she thinks she's her sister, she's like embodying that pain and that struggle, and that's I'm sure for anyone who has had to deal with some type of loss in that way, I'm sure that's a terrible cross to bear, and I'm sure that is not an easy way to live. But I feel like if there was a way to introduce that aspect, again, it would kind of rob some of the impact maybe that twist has at the end of the game. But if there was a way to introduce that type of struggle earlier in the game, I think it could maybe give more depth to Kasumi. But because you don't get it to the end, it's
for sure. And like, because she's going to therapy long before that happens too, because I think she's probably the one who introduces you to him, right? Like she's like, oh, this is the guy I see, like you should go see him. And like this is my biggest thing with Atlas, is the thing that I said at the beginning. This is the thing I will repeat until I die, and people will tell me I hate these games because of it. But like, if you want to be progressive, if you want to talk about sex, if you want to talk about trauma, if you want to talk about like abuse and all of these things, which Atlas, like that's their bread and butter. Like that's what they do, is they're like, you know what? Like there aren't enough games that are talking about this shit. Like we're going to do it. That's so cool. I applaud you for doing that. That's amazing. But like, you need to engage with that in a meaningful way, and they constantly drop the ball. And that's my thing too with Kasumi, is like there are so many interesting opportunities to talk about trauma and mental health, even outside of like, it doesn't have to be something to where like, oh, you had your sister die, so it makes sense you're sad. Like sometimes people are just sad, and you can still engage with trauma and therapy and mental health outside of that, and then have that be a thing at the end. I don't know.
Here's another thing that like and maybe they did touch upon it and I don't really remember, but like I wish that they talked about more just bringing up the idea like, so you're pretending to be your sister, like, and I feel like just no one really like confronted her about that, and like how like that could be seen as like disrespectful, distasteful. Like, even though that her intention was like somewhat good, like she wanted, to like have Kasumi like live through her in a sense, but like I don't know, I just feel like that was kind of it was like controversial enough where I feel like that they didn't touch upon it enough in the game, like through conversations or anything like that. I don't know, am I crazy, or does anyone else feel that way? Or
in my opinion, like, and this is such a weird thing to say, like if I knew someone in my life who was doing that would be super fucked up. But like I would understand that it comes from a place of trauma, and I think most people would probably be understanding it, wouldn't press it, and would be like, okay, this person clearly has something very wrong, like I'm not gonna push this. But at the same time, I do agree with you that a lot of times in Persona, it seems like the reason for somebody's actions are just dropped, and then like there's no follow through on talking about it more. Like,
yeah,
even
that's probably more of what I'm going for.
Yeah, it doesn't ever feel like things are neatly tied up, and like life isn't neatly tied up. But at the same time, like it's like the stuff with her whole thing is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try in modeling now because I know it's work. But we don't actually talk about like kind of her stuff with her sexuality and like and being sexualized so young and like the pressure put on her for her looks. We don't talk about that. With Ryuji, we don't talk about like, I mean, like we go through the whole thing with like his, you know, becoming an athlete again and stuff like that. But like, I feel like we don't talk enough about his abuse and like kind of how he's bullied and he's belittled at school and how he's treated. Like we don't really go into that with as much gusto as we probably should. And even Yusuke, like being like not having parents and being abused basically, like, I mean, he is abused by this man who like takes credit for all of his work. We don't go into like how this makes these kids feel. We kind of just say, oh, this happened, that's sad, let's fix it, but like there's nothing more done to them as people. And I think I would have been totally fine with them cutting out like all of the stuff in Royal and adding to the original characters, because I feel like especially like Haru, who's just like shoehorned there at the end, like I feel like there's something that's like you could have something so interesting and so meaningful if like you let the kids like interact with one another and like feel a bit more.
I think to kind of go off what you said,
Okay.
I think to go off what you said real quick is like they don't ever really dive into a lot of those things. And not only that, like for a lot of those characters, those plot points or those characteristics about their life are usually the butt of the jokes. So it's like you can't just like make these things the jokes and then not like ever go into it deeper, because then it kind of just makes, you know, the game developers also bullying these people and, you know, kind of us for enjoying it.
I do want to get back to Haru because I still think you guys are crazy about Haru, but I do want to say like that, like kind of what you're saying about Jess or about Kasumi, Jess, is how like is I think the best example, I think personally like the best confidant route like in the entire game is Hifumi. I think Hifumi has the best confident route because I feel like that depth that you're talking about, we actually get from her, and like her relationship with her mother, and like, yeah, granted, like you do a mission like change her heart and stuff like that, but like I definitely feel like out of all of the non-party members, I feel like I understood her as a character way more than like any other. Like I feel like with most of the other confidants, it was just kind of like one, not like small problem per se, but like a kind of offbeat problem that has nothing to do with her core character, like their core character that I'm helping them deal with.
So wait, is this you confirming that Hifumi is your favorite confidant and not Futaba?
No, Hifumi's not my favorite confidant, but like I think she has the best confidant story. Like I think like her, like I think her character is the most fleshed out. But I disagree because you know, like as someone who like, you know, doesn't get the full story to go through, I still think Futaba's the best character in the game. I mean, yes, I do think Futaba's the best character in the game. But yeah, and so I think that's really interesting. Now Haru, let's talk about Haru for a second. I honestly think that with them adding Haru in like basically kind of like last second, you know, because Hifumi was supposed to be a Phantom Thief and they cut her.
Which I think is a horrible mistake.
I think Haru, I really like Haru. And I think that her confident, I think one of her confident route is one of, not like, I'm not saying like it's interesting, but I think it does like give an inside look on her actual personal life, similar to Hifumi, where it's like, hey, my dad's like dead. I'm, you know, and granted, she's like in a place of privilege. And I think that's another thing that like, I think that they do well is like, she's not like snobby. She's not like, she doesn't feel entitled to anything, like, but she's just like, I am in this position of power, technically, and I have to like, you know, adapt. I need to learn what I need to do in this position now, and I need to do it for myself as a young, confident like woman, and things like that. That I don't know. I feel like Haru gets lowballed so much, like for really like no reason outside of, oh, she was just introduced late into the game. I'm like, I mean, like I still think her confident round is interesting. Like, you know, I granted like her like vegetable stuff and things. I don't really care about that, but like, but I really do think that like she grows a lot as a character throughout that confident.
She grows a lot of vegetables.
So my biggest problem with Haru is throughout her entire confidant, you don't unlock a Yakuza style like real estate mini game. They should have absolutely put that in the game where you help Haru invest the money from her father's business and you just own all of Tokyo.
Oh my gosh.
That's all I got.
That would have been a great perk. Yeah, I really did like Haru's confidant a lot.
Thank
too,
you, Mike.
Just because of how it ultimately plays out. Because I feel like with the other, and this is me generalizing without thinking about it a lot. With the other ones, it always boiled down to one other person in their life that's messing things up that they have to fix. And at the end of Haru's route, you realize like, no, it's just a lot more gray than that. This guy's honestly trying to help, and she's just trying to do what's best for the company, not really knowing what to do. And she thought, I think it was sort of angling it as if there was that other guy at the company who I think it was kind of angling it as if he was trying to manipulate her into doing something bad, but really he was like, "Whoa, I get it. You're in a tough spot. I'm really trying to help." And it basically ends with her saying, who did she end up giving it to? Like, control to, I think. I forget, but she gets to, open up her own shop or whatever. So yeah, I did like that in that it was a little bit, it wasn't so black and white as I think the other confidant routes were in terms of the issue that they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I like Haru. I think for me, it's just one of those things to where like she didn't, and this sounds stupid, but there are like certain archetypes in the Persona games. There are certain characters who fill certain roles that are always in games or in anime or whatever. And I think she just didn't like fill one of those strong enough for me to where she was less memorable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think her being introduced late did like cause an effect on her. Like, I do think that like she is like the character I remember the least out of the Phantom Thieves, for better or worse, because she was introduced last. But like when I actually like take the time to think about Haru, like I really like Haru. Like I like her a lot. And I just think that like I get it. Like again, she was kind of a last minute addition to the game, but I don't know. I don't think that should be like the end all be all for discrediting her.
I think another problem with Haru, not necessarily with Haru, but the way she's put in the game at the end, is not in Royal, but in original Persona 5, to like get further in that confidant, you need like kindness 4 or something. And kindness in like the original Persona 5 is like takes super long to get. And it was not something I had like spec'd towards. So I couldn't even interact with Haru's confidant link in Persona 5 original. So in Royal, I made a point of like going and doing Haru's stuff because it was easier to get to kindness 4. But I feel like a lot of people who played Persona 5 just missed out on Haru because it was near the end of the game. If you didn't have enough kindness, you couldn't do anything. And so, she kind of gets put to the wayside, which kind of sucks.
I believe my first playthrough in Royal, I didn't even it was maybe shortly before the Day of Reckoning, when you actually had to go into mementos and stuff, was when I realized, oh, I never even really started a social link with her. Like, I think a few days before, I actually was like, oh, I got Empress. And I was like, ooh, whoops. I wonder how much time I left in the game. Guess what? It wasn't a lot. By the time I got the ability to grow plants, I didn't get the chance to harvest any because she said, oh, come back tomorrow on December 24th. I said, no problem, Haru. I'll be right back.
Also they just stick her up on the top of the roof. Like they're like, she's all the way over here. Go find her.
Yeah, I think that her lack of popularity is like not necessarily a fault of her own. I think it's just like it's the timing. I think it's, the placement of her character literally within the game. And I think that it is part of like her not necessarily like her having more nuance to her and not being like, like if you look at the cast of Persona, it's like you can kind of see what everybody's supposed to be, right? Like, An is like the pretty girl. Ryuji is like the kind of the rough, and the rough and tough guy. Yusuke is like the feminine artsy boy. Like everybody has their thing. And then Haru, I feel like, is kind of the odd one out.
Yeah, and she does come into play, like she already has her persona and like things like that, so you don't get like her awakening. There's definitely some factors for sure.
It plays against her. I think she probably does get too much hate. I'm very like neutral. Like I think she's a fine character.
So since we're getting a little bit more targeted in on confidants, I feel like it's a good transition into just talking about confidants for a little bit. And before we do that, did everyone have like a set party that they usually use in the game? Because I did. I don't know if that's like a normal thing or not.
Yeah. Yeah, so through the base game, I play and I did the exact same thing in Persona 5, and I really didn't change very often, to be honest. Like I thought it was a really solid crew. I did Joker, Yusuke, Ryuji, and On. That was my go-to squad.
Yeah, that's like OG squad right there. Oh, without Morgana, of course, but
without Morgana, yeah. But like later in the game, I needed Morgana. I will say that completely.
Yeah.
But I did play the game on hard. I played the game on hard, so I didn't play it on normal.
That's bold. Yeah, I had a pretty much set party through most of the game where it was obviously you need Joker, Makoto. Yes. I would usually say Makoto, but like motherfuckers is weird about like how her name is pronounced.
Wait, is it Makoto? Because I'm gonna start using that if that's what it's supposed to be pronounced.
Well, I mean that's like the proper Japanese pronunciation, and as I don't know, it's like. I don't know. I also speak Tagalog, and I'm like, I want to be respectful of other pronunciations of names properly, but that's neither here nor there.
It's like how everybody calls her Rihanna instead of Rihanna, even though her name's Rihanna. But if you say Rihanna, everybody thinks you're weird. Or Rihanna.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had Joker, Makoto, and shit. I tried to have Haru as much. Once you get her, I swapped her out with Ryuji because I did like her psi abilities. I like Haru as a character. And On, because On is like, yo, she's a fucking damage dealer. You get her fire spells are fire. They're fire. But yeah, and it was like the same thing with Yukiko in P4, where her fire spells are just like laid on a lot of damage. But the thing I love so much about the final boss fight in the game is that it doesn't matter what your set party is. You need to use everybody at different points. And I kind of do like you got this a little bit in the royal version of the fight with Madarame, but you didn't really have a super built party at that time. You just need to think about elementals and affinities a little bit differently. But the final fight against Maruki and his wild squad of tentacles is like just how much you had to juggle elemental affinities and swapping out characters and using your turns wisely, understanding who's coming up next. And it was just like juggling so many things that in that moment, more than any other point in the game where I felt like everyone was in on this, not just the people that I like most and wanted to use most. It was like, and I'd use Morgana. Like I love Morgana, but like in terms of in combat, I didn't use Morgana very much if I didn't have to. But I was like, damn, none of my personas with Joker had Garudyne, so I couldn't really hit him with a wild wind attack if I needed to use a wind attack. So I just, I mean, kind of going off the rails a little bit of who my set party was, but I think it's worth pointing out that in Royal, that final boss fight kind of flipped, or it challenged you to think about the combat system in a very different way. That it kind of gelled with how much everyone was in on it, but also like, man, that shit was hard. And I was like, it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was already past embargo. I was like, yo, I need to finish this game to finish my review. But once everything clicked into place with that boss fight, I was like, yo, this shit is like, I don't care how long this takes. I'm just happy that this thing exists. So that's my set party. But hey, you need, if you like in Royal, I was like, yo, this is the shit I do like about like the SMT Persona combat system. So that's that on that.
Play darts. That's like
darts is so. Oh my god, the baton pass, bro. Oh my god,
you need baton pass for that fight. You wrote that guide and in the end you write like, make sure you play darts. And like I made that chart. I'm like, I'm gonna play darts. And then I get to that fight. I'm like, okay, yep. I played darts.
I played darts. Yup, that's just paying off.
For me, my party was almost always Makoto, obviously Joker, Morgana, and it would switch between usually On, but like I would, especially in palaces, I would always try to go ahead. I would always try to like do the whole up until you have to go back out to send the calling card or whatever. Right. I would always try to one run it. So when I would get to that point, if I didn't have like stuff to refill my SP or whatever, I would usually swap out On with Ryuji. And if I needed to swap out Makoto, I would, begrudgingly do that. But like I avoided using Yusuke at all costs. I
man.
He just never gelled in my party. I feel like his spells just never were what I needed, and I feel like I tried to catch as many. I tried to catch as many Persona as I could. So I feel like I always had so much flexibility with Joker's abilities that like I just didn't need Yusuke because I had crazy strong abilities with Makoto, and I always had like buffs with her. I always had buffs in healing with Lady Ann, as including her fire, and then I like Morgana was like my main healer. Like Morgana was my support mostly always. But like those wind spells come in handy a lot. And Ryuji was just like if I needed to swap out on pretty much. But for the most part it was yeah, like Morgana and Makoto never left my party. Like they were my 1 and 2. They're also the best confidants in the game, but we don't have to go into that just yet.
Yeah. Hey, put some respect on Yusuke. That fool be slicing up motherfuckers.
Yeah, dude. Yusuke does the most
like,
physical damage in the entire game.
Oh.
And like also he has he has the one ability, so he ups all your accuracy and evasiveness. So like you don't have to do it. And dude, like and also like just so many enemies are weak to ice in that game. Like, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I also never used Yusuke.
Yeah, I pretty much always had a Persona with Joker active that like had every element that my other party members didn't have. So like if I needed a nice spell, Joker had it. If I needed a Sai spell, Joker had it. Like I only used Haru towards the end of the game when I needed to have like additional Sai damage for whatever boss I was fighting.
Yeah, but if you have the baton pass, like it's like it's like, oh, like I'll do ice attack as Joker, baton pass to Yusuke, he'll do it too. Like you get that extra turn, like you get that extra stack.
You did say you played on hard though, Cam. Right?
Yeah.
Was it you that played on hard?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So like I mean, I played on normal. So I think that if you play on hard, like those things matter a lot more. So I respect.
I mean, I would have played it the same. I mean, I don't like when I play the game on hard. I don't think, oh, I'm playing the game on hard. Like I played the game like that's the same as I would have if I played on normal. I don't know. Like
I think there's just more leeway with normal, so you're not pressured into it as much.
For sure,
yeah,
but
you,
I mean,
you can get away with never like basically baton passing on normal fights or anything.
I guess like I
still baton pass.
Always think about like the
I did
most
too.
optimal. I just think of what's most optimal, I guess, all the time.
Yeah, which was not having Yusuke in my party ever. So I mean,
no, you're wrong. You're wrong.
See, no, you said that you used him for his like buffs and stuff like that, and then immediately I was like, well, I'm a dumbass and I never use buffs, so
oh shit,
I'm so bad at doing that stuff.
Yusuke until like Joker had abilities where he could use like ridiculous buffs or anything like that. I always had Yusuke was the only character across the entire party where I'd actually use like a buff move. So I felt like I didn't really need to raise attack or defense except until like the late game. But by that time, like I had like Yusuke has Heat Riser, which ups all stats for the entire party.
Heat Riser is
wild. In like Persona 2, you do need to use them. I think it's just like for me, I grew up playing Pokemon as my first RPG, and I was like, I'm not gonna fucking move doing growl. Like I don't
no, I still play Pokemon. I don't do that. Like that's a different scenario.
Like, that ingrained itself in my head though. I'm like, I'm not gonna waste a move. So like I still have to fight through that.
I also like spent a lot of time like in the actual like crafting the blank cards and like giving Joker a very specific.
Oh, I didn't touch that at all.
So I made sure that Joker had like buffs, debuffs, like and basically his personas were all decked out to. I had everything I needed, and so a lot of the time I would baton pass to get to Joker to buff, and then raising Futaba gives you those like occasional sort of buffs that when she comes in and does the whole team.
Yeah.
So I didn't really need Yusuke for that because like between Joker and then Makoto gets like few of them, like the evasiveness and stuff. I never felt like I needed somebody specifically with like really strong buffs because like Brenden Joker, I had Joker like decked out to have all the stuff I needed.
Yeah, see, I'm more the opposite. Like I only really use buffs for Yusuke with Yusuke and Joker like later on in the game. And then I used on for Dakaja to like null buffs on the enemy side. Outside of that, I didn't really need to use anything else. Like it was just Joker because for me, like I don't, Joker is already so much of the flexibility side of things that like giving him all the buffs is just another stack to that, instead of having your party member relying on your party members for that. For me, that was just like I already like adapt with dark magic, light magic, nuke, psi, like that, wind. Like I don't want another thing to be stacked on top of that, even if I do have like 12 different personas I can shuffle through. So that's why I, and again, I just really didn't feel like I needed to buff very often. So
yeah. Did were you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just say that's totally fair. I get that.
In my first playthrough, I don't remember. All I remember is that in my first playthrough, I left Morgana as I left him on heal support, and I just had him doing that. I want to say I might have given Makoto acts freely. I don't quite recall. But basically what I'm getting at is I know my party must have had Morgana in it just for healing, but I wasn't doing anything with him. I was just hoping he was taking care of us, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really understand what I was doing, and probably until I finally beat the game, I understood how I should have been playing it. And that's part of the reason why I ended up going through a second playthrough, is to do certain things I didn't do the first time because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I must have had Morgana. I probably used Makoto for a bit. I think what ultimately ended up happening is that for a lot of the palaces, because the palace was kind of designed to work around whoever I just got in my party, they would probably just stay there because they probably had an element that was strong against most of the enemies there. I do recall, at least in my playthrough of Royal, at the very end, I definitely had Anne in my party just because Blazing Hell just got me through that final boss. Because I was struggling with Maruki, and then at some point, I threw Anne in there, and I would concentrate and then do Blazing Hell, and it did so much damage.
Yo,
like, right,
yes, wild
damage.
Yeah.
Every single turn.
What about you, Jessica? Did you have like a set party through the game, or not really? Or
I did for the most part. It was always so obviously Joker. And I would kind of have it to where it was like half Joker, half on being my healers or white mages, like doing all those spells, like buffs and stuff. So I would have on in there. I would usually have Ryuji. Just because he hits pretty hard, I feel like. I don't know. There's probably people who are listening who are like, I know the stats and he actually doesn't or something. But like when I played him, he seemed to be doing a good job. So, and then I love Makoto. I had Makoto in there usually. And I feel like depending upon the palace, like I'm a little bit more flexible. Like I might switch Makoto out for somebody or Ryuji out for somebody. But for the most part, it was those four. So. On was like my staple though, and like On is just my favorite character in the game, and she also just does so much damage. She's awesome. Love her.
So then let's just get into it then. So as far as confidants go, On is by far your number one, Jessica?
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely love her. I think I tend to like be drawn to that sort of character, and so I don't know. Like she's definitely my favorite.
Do you have a least favorite confidant?
Ooh,
it could be a party confidant or I don't know. Let's keep it to party confidants for now, just because I feel like whatever, do whatever you want. If it's a non-party confidant, that's fine too. Because I feel like so many of the non-party confidants
just ready for everyone to trash on me. He's just ready for it.
No, I'm not.
Hey,
he's been counting the days. He's been counting the days.
Is because I didn't get to talk about my party.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just fucking with you. No, I just use whoever's palace it is. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh,
interesting.
I don't know who my least favorite is. That's so hard to like. I feel like maybe Igor and the Wardens, like, because like I'm not, you know what I mean? Because like they're not like this personal connection that you're kind of doing stuff with.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Maybe the fortune teller too. She wasn't super interesting to me. I can't remember her name right now. See, that's probably telling.
That's why the non-party confidants to me, like, there were so many of them I barely interacted with, like the fortune teller, the politician. I didn't really do much.
Hey,
Yeah.
put some
I like
respect on
politician
anime
good,
Bernie
though.
Sanders.
I like the politician.
I just didn't
Yeah.
like by the time, because when I was getting towards the end of the game, I had like Mike made a point to tell me, he was like, just make sure you max out Maruki and make sure you max out Akechi before this date, like so that I wouldn't miss
Yeah.
the true ending. So like later in the game, I was like, Mike, am I missing any confidants? Like he's like, who do you have? And then like I didn't name the fortune teller and I didn't name anime Bernie Sanders. He was like, all right, you got to do this and this to go find those people. So like I got them so late in the game, and I was like, I don't really care about what's going on. I just want to get to the next part of whatever's happening here.
I don't even remember what anime Bernie or Bernie. What anime Bernie?
Bernie
There we go,
Sanders.
Bernie. So he's the son, and I just remember I was told when I started Persona 5, not even Royal, like the first thing I was told by people was like max him out because he's useful. And like I don't remember what he does, but he was useful. He does do something that's very good.
He lets you negotiate and get persona who are higher level than you. So if you max him out and you knock down a persona who's a higher level than you can recruit them.
I feel like he has like a mid-tier thing that's really helpful too. Maybe I'm crazy. Does he?
He lets you like
he lets-
renegotiate too, right?
Yeah,
Like, if you fail
yeah.
a
Have, like,
negotiation.
more money or better things when you negotiate.
Yeah, and if you choose like the red
Yeah.
option, it's like a guaranteed success type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Just wanna-
I like. I was gonna say I like the politician too. I actually did him. I think he was like one of the first non-party confidants I did, just because they said like, oh, he's only there on Sundays, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so on Sundays, this is what I'm gonna do until he's done. So that's why I didn't like particularly like want to do him first, but I was just like, oh, he's like there like on a very specific time frame. I'm gonna do that until he's done, and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
I just want to quickly clarify. I did not tell Brenden what to do. As a matter of fact, I was perfectly content with him just ending up getting the vanilla ending without any sort of prompting. Because
fucked up.
he initially he
You did
When
tell
we
me
were-
though.
No, I told you.
Jesse-
I
Jesse
fucked up
told-
and told
Jesse
you.
told you, and I said I was not going to tell Brenden that.
Oh, fuck you, Mike.
'Cause
God
Brendan-
damn it, Mike.
Brendan texted me several times saying, "Yo, fuck this Maruki guy. I don't feel like talking to him." I was like, "All right, whatever." He's like, "Yo, I don't even like this Akechi guy." I'm like, "All right, whatever." Like,
Yeah.
I was not going to tell him.
I don't like Akechi. I didn't really like Maruki either. Just because I don't like.
You're insane.
I-
You're insane.
Listen, you're supposed to not like Akechi. Akechi is.
No,
your-
you're not. No, you're not.
Oh,
He's
you're
you're
supposed to hate
supposed to love Akechi.
You're supposed to love Akechi? You're not supposed to love
Yes.
Akechi. No, you are
Talk
not.
about
Yes,
a
you
fucking
are.
Maybe if
cop.
you want to smash, like that's cool, but like you're not supposed to like him.
No, Akechi is like clearly fucking. He's
Clearly a
onto your
douchebag.
shit, and
He's like,
and
I'm a
he's a douchebag.
detective that's
Yeah.
gonna take you to a
Okay,
jazz
okay,
club.
okay,
Are
hold
you
on,
for
hold on.
real?
Well, another thing. He's like,
Fucking
I don't think-
14
let me-
years old.
let me-
Get the fuck out
Let
of
me
here.
let me rephrase. I don't think you should like him, but I think that you should think that he's a great character.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That's
he's,
what I mean.
I think he's the best
I think he's like.
villain of the game.
Prob-
I think.
I agree.
Like, I think he's
totally
I think
agree.
he was a more compelling villain to me than like Shido or
100%.
or even Maruki,
100%.
whoever else you want to like put in the villain role. Any of the palace leaders. Not to say that like what the other palace leaders did or didn't do wasn't like fucking terrible, but like as a character that was like persistent throughout the game, fuck Akechi. I'm not about Akechi. I could dig through tweets as I was going through the game and being like, fuck Akechi. Like anytime some shit popped up, like
All my homies hate Akechi.
yeah, get that guy the fuck out of here.
I'm glad you say that though, because like I do think like that's what makes a villain great, or like that's what makes the palaces great, and like that's something that like Persona 5 kind of loses, is like it's best when it's intimate. And that's why I think Akechi feels so good, is because it's like this like character who like you have this like kind of competitive like rivalry with throughout the game. And then like I think, in my opinion, that the best palace is Kamoshida's palace, and the very first one, because to me it's like something that actually impacts these kids. Like it feels like, I don't know, it feels like the stakes are higher, which seems weird because like as the game goes on, it's like a bigger and bigger target, but like the personal stakes aren't the same. Whereas with that one, like you see how it's hurting their peers, like you see how this is hurting On, you see how this is hurting Ryuji, and so like I think because of that, it's like the strongest palace and kind of the strongest story. And Akechi, God bless him existing, because I think that it picks it up again with Akechi when you go into all of his stuff, because you do have that bond there.
I agree.
Because if it's just mobsters, like if it's just mobsters and politicians, like you feel so disconnected from that.
Yes, I like.
But-
Yeah.
Especially Kaneshiro. Like they just like stumble into that issue, like with Makoto and them, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this guy. I just take him down, I guess.
The only two things about Kaneshiro are that song is a fucking banger. And his palace itself is one of the few palaces in the game that I think is a well-designed palace, because I think that's another
I hate that
issue with the game in general.
The best palace in the game.
I don't think it's the best
that
palace
is
in the game.
too
It
long.
100% is. It 100%
Oh, it's
is.
good.
I think
Because when I first played Persona 5, I thought the casino was the best, but that was simply for the aesthetic and the music.
yeah, Whims of Fate is the best song in the game, full stop.
For the
Keep going.
actual second best, but yeah. And then after
What's the first best song in the game?
Last Surprise. I'm sorry,
All right,
it is.
I'll concede. Sure, I agree.
Anyway, so so aesthetically,
Jesse,
and
what's
just,
the
like,
first? What's the best song in the game?
And the entire vibe. No.
What he say?
Beneath the Mask.
I mean, I also love that song too, because here's what I think the Persona 5 music does so well. It does so well about having like fucking bops. It is so well about having like anthems that you want to storm a palace and fuck people up in battles to, and then it has good mood music. And Beneath the Mask and a few other ones are good. Like, I'll put that stuff on when I'm driving in my car and it's raining out, and I'll just be in a specific state of mind. Like, it's like, yes, I'm a sad boy right now driving around to the song.
You're vibing.
Yes.
The 10-hour YouTube video Beneath the Mask with rain in the background has gotten me.
Yo.
It's a suggested video every time I open YouTube because I've listened to it too many times.
Also, I like Takeover more than Last Surprise.
Is that the new song?
I said that in my preview. Also.
Is that the new? Is that the new battle song?
Yeah.
No fucking way. No,
I was
so mad. No, you're insane. Oh no, I'm not even gonna get into this. But as I was saying, so first time around, I was like, oh yeah, like the casino's the best palace. But like when I played through it the first time, I thought the bank was by far the second. But this time around, I was just like, I was actually thinking about it when I was going through Size Palace. Like, this palace fucking sucks. Like, I don't like what I'm doing in this palace. Like, I have to go back, because I'm one of those people that likes to go through the palace in one go. I'm just like, we're going, we're done, we're sending the card. I'm not like spending multiple days in this palace. So for me, it's just like you had to keep going back and forth because Sai has to see that we got entered to her courthouse and things. I'm like, let me just go through this palace already. And then like again, like just the games, I'm like, I don't like this that much. I get it fits, but I wasn't a big fan. But like the level design in the bank, so good, like so good. The last room's a giant lock, like. Come on now. So good.
Can we all agree, though, that the spaceport is by far the fucking worst?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
It's also the
do not
worst
like
boss
the
fight in
spaceport.
the game.
I did not like
100%.
it.
I
Did
do
not
like
it.
I liked the puzzle with the where you would like go out in space. I did like the
An Omega.
100%. I love that puzzle. I loved it.
Here's my issue with overall with the palaces in this game is that I feel like I'm a person when it comes to games that like I enjoy puzzles and I enjoy solving stuff, and I like that, that aha moment when I figure something out. And obviously that's a hard balance to get because everyone's different and everyone, some people are much smarter than me and some people are maybe not as, quick to figure puzzles out. So it's a hard balance to like, make something that is approachable for, as many people as possible. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, puzzle design is so easy. Atlas fucking blows at it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, like, I never really felt like any of the puzzles in any of the dungeons were things that made me have to think. They just more often than not felt tedious. They felt like I know what I have to do, and I'm just going through a long string of events to get to what I need to do, and it's not fulfilling.
Yeah,
into the mice and you gotta like run around.
Oh, that's the worst. The Shido's Palace.
Fuck those. No, yeah, those puzzles suck.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, just like tedium, and I'm just like, I don't like. If anything, like I would have preferred more types of maybe puzzles in the like the combat, like the fighting. Like I like the idea that they were trying to go for with Akumura's boss fight. I just think it was done in a horrible way. Time limit, and it had to be like executed in a very specific way where if you made the wrong decision, you basically lost that run and you had to restart. So like
yeah, if you I was gonna say, like, if you don't have like Hifumi's like swap out ability by that point in the game, you're fucked. Like that fight is instantly like twice as hard, and it's already hard.
Yeah,
I cheesed that fight by using like the pre-order personas or whatever that you get that are level like 90 something.
Wow.
I didn't even think about that.
After I did this for like 10 times, I was like, fuck this. I grabbed a list of like level 80 and 90 personas, fucking wiped the floor with that boss fight, and then put him away and never used him again.
Wow.
What's funny, I don't even remember. I vividly remember doing that boss fight because I was sitting there pissed the entire time because I'm like, I'm gonna lose this. I'm gonna, because like I thought that I'd already fucked up, and then like I won it. Like the first time I did it, I'm like, I don't know how I did that. Like, and like it was very strange. No, like it wasn't even that. It was like I was like, I'm pretty sure I should have lost that, but something happened and it just kept going. So it was a very weird sensation. I guess I did something right. It did not feel like it, but either way, that boss fight was very weird. Yeah, I agree.
I died many times in that, to the point where I remember going into my yard and calling Mike because I didn't want to like yell in my house, and I went outside and I was like, Mike, am I doing something fucking wrong? Like, what is the point of this boss? Like, I don't want to be Googling stuff. I'd rather Google you. Like, tell me what I'm doing wrong.
It feels like unnecessarily punishing when you're doing it.
Yes. Oh, it was so bad. Especially because like when I finally figured out the steps to get to the end of the fight, where like if you didn't kill a wave of robots in a certain way, like they'd all respawn and you'd basically be at square one. I finally got like the magic recipe to get to the end, and when I did that on the first time, the fucking timer ran out as I was killing him at the end, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I have to do this again? I really have to do this again right now?
Oh no.
Like if they took the timer out of that fight, for as dumb and as punishing as it was, it wouldn't be as like, I wouldn't hate it as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so for like, because for me, like I actually was streaming when I was playing this part of the game because I was just like, I need to get further in this game, and it was like the last guy had like this much where you could barely even see the health like in the heart, and and all I had left was I had Makoto because Makoto was like relevant in that part. No, no, was relevant in that part of the fight, and I was literally yelling at the screen like, please, 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 and then like it actually worked, and then I popped off of the screen, and then Akumura came up, and I didn't remember the fight from the original, and I thought, there's no fucking way you're making me like have to fight him now too, like, and thankfully I just whapped him. I was like, oh my god, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
So Cam, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was gonna say I remember you complaining about the Akumura boss, and then I ended up digging through my own text messages and like sent you a screenshot of a conversation I had with you where I said, "Oh, I'm playing this boss. It's not a difficult boss. It's just a very tedious boss." I explained that I was basically killing myself in the game just to start over again because I knew I'd fucked up and I would have to start from the beginning again because that whole palace is terrible, and I don't remember exactly what they changed, but they at least made the first part easy. Not the boss, but in the palace itself. When you have to chase down the bosses to, get cards.
The cards, yeah.
Yeah, something. It was different in vanilla to the point where I think I was getting lost in vanilla, because I really don't remember how they structured it, but basically I didn't know who I was supposed to be running after every single time. At least in this one, I think they just said, hey, here are the two guys, go talk to them and figure out who has the card. Whereas the other one, I think after each wave, new people would roll in and go all over the place, and you had to chase them all down. It was a mess. Yeah, that's all.
So Cam, I think you were gonna say who your favorite confidant was.
Why do I have to do this now? Okay, my favorite character in the game.
I mean, we can. What?
My favorite character in the game is Yusuke. 100%.
Is that for story or combat reasons or both?
Story, like just character, like its characterization. Like I get the stuff with On wasn't great for sure, but like I definitely don't think he was trying to be like that was his intention in the sense.
Oh no, I don't.
Doesn't yeah, but like yeah, for sure. You were talking more about Joker and Ryuji specifically. But like, I do also think like because I remember hearing you talk about that specific thing before I played Royal. So when I got to that part, because I didn't really like think about it, I was like, yeah, this is kind of weird. but like just knowing both sides of the situation, like Yusuke was just like, oh, you're cool to model, cool, like, but seeing both sides, like, oh yeah, it's kind of especially for but just in general, like, yeah, this is kind of a awkward situation. But I like when I played through Persona 5, I always got that vibe that Yusuke and Joker like canonically should have like been like together, should have been partners. Like I got that like chemistry with them whenever I did any of Yusuke's confidant stuff. It was one of those things where like, as you know, well, questioning my own sexuality, but like at the time, like when I just like, you know, thought like I was a straight dude, I was like, I want to romance Yusuke. Like I want Joker and Yusuke to be together. And that's like, this is the first game where I've ever like had that mentality where I'm just like, oh, I want like this gay, like, you know, this gay relationship to happen. Like I want this relationship to happen. And because I got that vibe and chemistry with them, and that might have to do something with the performances between Xander and Matt, but I don't know. I just really got that vibe from them. I really liked whenever they were having like conversations together, and I really wish that could have come to pass. So when they were doing when they first revealed the first trailer for Royal, and people like were hypothesizing that Kasumi was going to be like a female protagonist, I really kind of wish that ended up being the case, because I want to romance Yusuke. So, but I really love Yusuke. He's my favorite character in the game. And then I think Futaba's a phenomenal character as well. Like, you know, she's who I romanced in Persona 5. This time I did Kasumi just because she was like new, and I was just like, let's see what it was about. I kind of regret it. I honestly wish I romanced Hifumi this time around, because I really like Hifumi as well. She's probably my third favorite character across the game. But yeah, those would be like my top 3, and I hate Makoto. I don't like Makoto as a
That's
character.
your least favorite character.
Yes,
God.
Yes, I do not like Makoto.
Someone else talk,
Okay,
please.
why?
Anyone
Why?
else talk.
I need to know why though. Like why? I need to know.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
This is the back of my phone, bro. Do something.
She's a narc.
You went to reach for something, and Cam, I thought you were gonna have like an anti-Makoto something. I was like,
no.
I thought he had like an anti-Makoto like throw blanket.
yeah.
She's a narc. Her confidant.
She's not a
was
narc.
a narc.
She's not a narc.
She was a narc.
Once a narc,
Was.
always a narc.
Cam, I'm curious to see if your opinion changes on Makoto when I tell you why she's the best character in the game.
It won't. I promise you. I mean, it definitely won't make me make her my favorite. Hey, stop.
It's interesting to me that you love Haru so much for her nuance, but you think that Makoto is just a narc.
No. That's not the only reason. But like that was like the first, like that. So that was my first impression of her, and like I think her Persona Awakening is the best in the game by far. Like 100% great.
That's a factual statement.
Yeah, it's true.
That's facts.
And yeah, 100% great. But like I think as a, I don't know. I just didn't really like her. I honestly don't feel like that her character evolved very much. I really don't think it did. And
I'll
like
point out to you why you're wrong.
Okay, sure. And
No,
then I
not
think
really.
okay, that's fine. And I think that her confidant route is like one of the worst in the game. Like, definitely out of the whole party. Like, definitely
I
the
like Makoto
worst.
a lot, but her
I would
confidant
not-
route is
yeah.
pretty bad.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
disagree with that.
It's really terrible. And they make you like, and I think it's the one that has like the most requirements to continue through. And I'm just like, why? Like, it's not even
Futaba's
interesting.
definitely does, because you have to rank up something for Futaba and for Sojiro to finish theirs.
Mm-hmm. Futaba, I think, is the most difficult
are-
one for me.
Those are separate though. Are
No,
you talking
'cause
about?
you can't complete either of them without getting to a certain point. Because I think towards the end, don't their social links pretty much merge? Like
No,
like
just
the final.
Sojiro's is just a part of Futaba's. That's all.
I
And
think you have to have a certain.
Sojiro's is blocked by story progression, so you
Yeah.
have to be able to do Futaba's palace before you
no,
can
I think-
continue Sojiro's confidant
Yeah,
block.
Yeah, but I
exactly.
think Sojiro is also blocked again by either kindness or charm or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
That was before the story block. And like, granted, like, I'm not including the story block for Sojiro, but like I remember like you had to get like, what was it, like 5 charm to continue
Makoto, you need
Makoto. Yeah, you need 5 charm, which in my opinion was like the least important stat from what I remember playing through the game. I don't know, and then it just ended up just being like, oh, pretend to be my boyfriend, and then like there's this girl that like is never brought up in the main game that I'm trying to be friends with, and like.
See, I think her story is much deeper than that, though. Regardless of like her confidant arc being that way.
Here's the deal with Makoto. Her main confidant arc is not great. I understand that it's supposed to paint a picture of who she is and like kind of like, oh, maybe I should get involved when I think that someone I care about is, you know, getting into some dumb bullshit. But what makes her the character that we like is her involvement in the main story and her relationship to her sister. So that's where, like, you know,
here's the thing.
Okay,
here's the thing. Sai is a much interesting character than Makoto. Like I
think she's interesting too, but like that's
way
not,
better.
That doesn't like discredit Makoto herself as a character.
But like
I do,
but I was just thinking the same thing. Like this, like, oh yeah, Makoto's like probably biggest connection in her main story is her relationship with her sister. But like Sai's story is way more interesting than Makoto's, but they coincide with each other so much. Then like that, why is it so? I don't think it should feel so one-sided.
I don't think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
like, I don't. It is what it is. Like
I think Sai and Makoto also have similarities in like what their overall arc for their character in the game is, where they both feel pressure to succeed. They both feel like they need to constantly be proving themselves to someone, whether that's what they actually want or not. Sai, I don't know. I think she does want that in her career. Like I think that's what her big motivation is. She wants that in her career. Makoto is younger. Makoto like isn't sure what she wants. She just thinks she knows what she wants because of pressure from her family or from whether it's, you know, the principal or teachers to do well. Like, and the reason why I liked her character was not her confidant arc. It was that arc. It was the arc of like, and maybe this is just, you know, why I like her character arc so much is because I drew a lot of my own life from that, where it's like, I always feel, you know, not as much anymore, but definitely when I was in high school, I felt so much like familial pressure to do well, to succeed, to be the best. And again, this is like me drawing a lot of my personal life, which is, you know, maybe not an experience everyone can have. So maybe that the character wouldn't matter as much to them. But like for me, like I'm one of 5 siblings. So like I have, you know, 4 brothers and 3 brothers and a sister, and 2 of my brothers when I was in high school made a lot of bad life choices that like put a lot of pressure on my family in a bunch of different ways. And me, like, not like a narc, but like more of a straight edge person. Like I didn't drink, like I didn't smoke, I didn't really do anything. I was just like, but I wasn't like a straight A student, but like I always felt like I had to be that. Like I always felt like I had to be like, shit, my brothers are doing this to my family, I need to succeed, I need to like do all this stuff. And like the older I get and like the more removed from college I am, I'm like, I really didn't want to go to college necessarily, but I went to college because that's what I felt like would have made my family happy. And that's like what I feel like would have made an impact on my family or whatever. And like I feel like that's kind of the struggle that Makoto goes through, which is like, I don't think she knows what she wants, which who does it when they're a high schooler? Not many people. Or maybe you think you know, and then that changes when you get older. But I feel like that's kind of where her arc is, and that's where her story is. Which is why, again, like I related to that story a lot in regards to like always feeling this, you know, pressure from above you, from around you to be someone that maybe you aren't, or be someone that you think you should be. So like to me, I felt like Makoto was like the most grounded character in the story for me, at least, and that's why I like the character so much. On top of that, like when she's following you around with the book in I forget what town you're in, like that's like one of the best scenes in the game. And I think she's also like the like I like strong female figures, like in all of my things. Like I have like a wall of art in my hallway that's like strong female characters from like media that I like. So like I have like a art, like a painting of Leia. Like I have all this stuff of like strong female characters from media that I like. And Makoto joined that wall because like I feel like Makoto is like the smartest person in the group, to the point where, like, if she never joined the Phantom Thieves, I don't think the Phantom Thieves are getting to the end of this story. Like, they're not succeeding in this journey because she's like the voice of reason, the only person who seems to like be intelligent when it comes to that stuff. She's also just kind of a badass bitch, and I like badass bitches. So, I mean,
no, I'm so glad that you like kind of connected personally with Makoto though, because I'm the same way. Anna is my favorite character, but Makoto is who I choose to romance, and Makoto is like by far who I think I identify with the most, just because I also am one of 5 kids. My mom had me when she was 14 years old. Don't know my and I basically, because of that, and then having an irresponsible mother, I basically was like the older sibling figure for like 4 kids, and like I didn't really have authority figures, and because of that, I found my authority figures through like teachers and people, and like I needed to be smart, I needed to be a gifted student, I needed to be, you know, like that was my thing, is I wanted to achieve, and like I relate to her story so much. It's feeling like you like all you want is for people to be proud of you. You know, all you want is for like that satisfaction to be like, I'm useful, I am good. And I think that's her whole thing. Is like she's driven to be like narcish or whatever by a desire to like be respected and to have love and have people who trust her. And her whole story, like I just think was really good. And I do like the fact that when she is in a room with the Phantom Thieves, she is the smartest person in the room, but it never feels like they're like pointing at her saying that. You know what I mean? She just has that sort of intelligence to her. Yeah, I think she's a really good character.
Another thing too is like for Makoto, it's like all she knows, like, because her father's gone, but she understands her father's legacy. So the only figure that she lives with is her sister, and her sister is a prosecutor. So who else is she going to look to as a model for what I should be doing? And throughout the story, Sai's like, hey, do your homework, do some shit. You know, you're gonna be successful if you do all this stuff. Now I'm gonna go do my work. So like that's all that she knows. So she has good intentions. They're just not directed in the best direction until she meets the Phantom Thieves, and where she had that when she joins the Phantom Thieves is kind of like her, not just her persona awakening, but she's like, okay, now I have a broader understanding of how I can use my sense of justice to actually change things. Like, yeah, I'm smart and I could do my fucking homework and I understand what my sister does, but I don't necessarily have to follow that path. Now my eyes are now open to another route in which I can use the things that I've learned growing up in a different way that I think is more effective. And I'm also going to learn from these Phantom Thieves, these fools, but I'm also going to be, like y'all said, the smartest one here who can deduct what needs to be done and put yourself in harm's way when she has to fucking like steal the shit off her sister's laptop. Like that's some bullshit, bro. Like so it's kind of like the well-intentioned student who understands that there's more than doing your homework and getting straight A's. And like, yeah, she starts off as a narc, someone who's like trying to snitch, but it's from a lack of understanding which she ends up gaining through the story. So I like, if you don't like Makoto's like confidant arc, I don't either. But in like what you trade for it is her importance throughout the rest of the game and her importance in very key story beats. Maybe it's related to his sister. Sure, it definitely is. But so is like, but that's how it is. Like no one stands on their own. Like Futaba is not Futaba without Sojiro and vice versa. Makoto isn't Makoto without Sai and vice versa. So, you know, if you don't like Makoto, fine. But like, she has a very important place in the whole thing.
I feel like I don't know. I get what you're saying when you're comparing like Futaba's relationship with Sojiro and Makoto's with Sai's, but I also feel like that those are two completely different type of relationships that are treated
they are
differently towards each other. Where like I don't think that they are really a one-for-one comparison.
They're not. I'm not saying that they are, but I'm saying that you can't hold it against her that Makoto does rely on Sai for her own development.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like I don't know, and like this might be it might be a different story just because like I'm an only child, but like you know Brenden and Jess, I have very similar relationship with my dad. Like my dad was a very strict father, like military background, super about me doing well in school, and I did for a very long time, and then like but you know I never felt like that sense of appreciation from him. So I started to not care about school, and like just tried to get by. Like I still like did as well, well, but like not to try and like appease him anymore, because he didn't give me like that sense of satisfaction or that sense of like proudness, and so, and I didn't have like anyone else to look up to, because my mom, being an immigrant from England, like she like, she wanted me to do well in school, and she would be upset if I didn't, but like she wasn't really like a guiding factor in that sense with my relationship with my dad, because they did not get along as far as I remember. So despite them being married since my dad's passing. So for me, it's just like, I think that with Makoto, like I think that her arc is great, like during the palace, but I do think that she has like a core like part of the team, but I just feel like that was, and there are like instances where she's like needed narratively, but I just don't think that like the growth that I think that the growth that I wanted from her stopped at the end of her arc. Like at the end of like her arc of the main story. Like I didn't feel like I saw much growth from her compared to other characters in the like throughout the story in the Phantom Thieves, like Ryuji and like and at times Yusuke and things like that. That it just like it's not, it's one of those things, like I do relate to her situation. It just, I don't know. And I think like just like with the narking thing, like just the way she went about it, like she was like rude for like really no reason. And I'm just like, like, I get like that you're kind of being blackmailed here, but you don't have to be rude to them. Like, it's just, I don't know. And
I feel like she drops that though. Like as soon as she joins the Phantom Thieves, like I feel like she's never.
Oh, she does. So it's just like, why would you do that in the first place? That's what I'm trying to say. Like
because she's imitating her sister. She's imitating Sai.
Yeah.
Sai is cold
it's
and
an
calculated
imitation.
and
like if you think about the principal, that fool's like a hard ass. He was basically like, hey, if you don't figure this shit out, good luck with the rest of your future. So
yeah, like good. You just see, like so you could kiss your college recommendations goodbye.
Well, and until the Phantom Thieves too, she's surrounded by people who, by and large, like maybe like obviously Sai loves her and stuff, but like nobody actively likes her. You know what I mean? Like she's not around people who want to hang out with her and want to be around her and stuff like that. Like she's there as a person who exists in people's lives, who's successful. She's not like a friend to anybody. She's not, you know what I mean? Like I think that she doesn't really know how to be.
I mean, that kind of, and that kind of happens when you take that route in education, right? Where you're just focusing all on school. Like you kind of like, like how the thing like.
She's Hermione in the first Harry Potter book. Like everybody thinks she's a bitch at first because she's a know-it-all, like. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's actually a really good comparison I never really thought of. But again, like it's just I don't know. Like I just feel like I got more from, and again, like I do relate to her story a lot, but like just something just didn't really click with me with her, and I think that
totally.
And I think that's that there's fair. Like I think there are just characteristics from other characters that I thought that were like, I guess more unique,
fulfilling, right?
More unique, more fulfilling, like something like, and I can see that like people find, like a lot of people, like no one, like none of us had a perfect childhood or growing up or anything like that, I'm sure. So like, Makoto is very relatable in that sense, like when it comes to that aspect. So again, like I don't, I still really don't like her overall compared to most of the other characters. But like, I don't know. I guess I just I don't know.
Well,
it's fine. It's fine, Doc.
This is the great thing though about ensemble casts, right? Yeah, like this is what's so good about it, is because everybody can find somebody who they relate to strongly. Yeah. And like you always have to think about, whenever you're having conversations about like who's your favorite character in this, like it's not just what's on the screen or what's in the book or whatever. Like when you have a connection with a character, it's going to be so different from person to person what they think, because like it extends beyond that. Like I probably give passes and extend Makoto's character beyond what it is on the screen because like I relate to that and I can fill in the gaps. And like
Yeah.
any good character you find in anything, you can fill in the gaps in your head because you're like, I get that, and like you can paint a bigger picture. And so like if a character like just doesn't resonate with you, like okay, you want to know like my thing that people give me shit for? I'm not super huge into Futaba. To me, Futaba reminds me of.
Wow.
So, but here's the thing, right? Futaba has the exact personality of my middle sister, like very similar. And growing up, it was always hell because I had this person who just wanted to shut themselves in the room, who didn't want to be involved, who didn't like, and like it was a fight, it was a struggle, and like she like doesn't understand like the things that she would say would come across as rude, you know, to people. Like it's like having that lack of like that social awareness, whereas like I'm the total opposite. I'm like hyper aware, I'm like overly apologetic and overly polite and all of these things, and she's the type of person who she's blunt and she doesn't really get it and she's more reclusive. And so like watching Futaba's story, I have that, and it extends onto her character, and like all I can think about is like if I were her older sister, how fucking frustrated I would be. You know? And so like that impacts my feelings on it. But I know everybody loves her, but for me, I'm just like, oh, she's like my frustrating younger sister who I love dearly, and like it's much better now. She's in college now, she's like kind of come out of that. But like growing up, it was a really hard situation to be in.
Yeah. No, totally. And just I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, I feel like every person I've spoken to, except for maybe Kaylee Woomer, has said that like Makoto's their favorite confidant, and I'm just like, I just feel like so like,
I know.
just on an island, and everyone else is just like on Makoto Island, and then there's like 5 of us over here.
Ian from OK Beast is all about Haru.
Haru. I like Haru.
Yeah,
so he's the only person I know.
About this. It's a real weird situation.
So so it's just one of those things where like
I love you.
I definitely see the merit in like Makoto's like relatability, like for sure. I just I don't know, and it's interesting because they touch upon it at the very end of Makoto's confidant like side stuff with like, oh, like it's just like weirdly enough, like out of all this stuff with this with my random friend and whatever, like I'm deciding I'm going to be a cop or like or anything like that, and it's just like, couldn't it been something more interesting, and then like that led to that decision or something like that, where you know like to build like it just didn't feel like the side route built off of her already like built arc of the main story. And you know, and granted, like that's kind of like what the side routes are for, right? They're supposed to try and build more into these characters that like that, you know, it's because, you know, more times or less, like once a certain character's arc is over, they're not super focused on for the rest of the game. So like for me, I was just like, you know, okay, so Makoto's like this, like to me at the time, like was like snobby student, like that granted like does have like problems at home, but like, you know, was like rude to people for no reason, like that felt like to me, and things like that like I wanted to see where it would go from there, and then in the side route stuff, and it just didn't, and I also feel like I don't feel like her, like the stuff that like the way she was acting like was out of character per se. But like it was also just like, okay, but you have like On now as a friend, like you have all these other female friends now, like why are you like having this issue in your side route? It was just one of those things where like I really wanted, I think the reason why I dislike Makoto is that I feel like she, more than any other character in the story outside of maybe Futaba, had the most potential as like growth as a character, and it just didn't remotely meet my expectations. Because again, I think her Persona Awakening is great. I think her Persona outfit is great, but like it was just one of those things where, and it's just like small things. Like they end up calling her queen. I'm just like, you just joined this group. Like, what makes you deserving of like that kind of title? Like,
I think
code names.
It was very like you could say it's like more like it's like more like petty shit. I'm just like, oh, okay, so Panther, you know, Anne is a panther because she's dressed like she's in a cat suit, and then Fox is like, you know, he's dressed like a fox, and then like Makoto's queen. I'm like, what? Like
queen on a chessboard.
I know, like Queen on that chessboard, but I was just like
The Queen's
like,
Gambit.
Then when I met Hifumi for the first time, I'm like, she should be queen. I like her a
Probably
lot.
would have been if she was in the game.
Yeah,
Or-
probably.
So no, it's just one of those. It's really just like a whole lot of different things where I just think that like a whole bunch of different things as to why like Makoto just was really disappointing as a character for me personally.
I don't want to like.
Can we talk about the true GOAT character though?
Who?
Takumi.
I mean, Takami's like old reliable, you know what I mean? Like she's
Love
like
it.
always great. Like everyone loves her. Like
Is this
you know
your
what I mean?
favorite confidant?
She's up there. She's pretty
Oh,
rad.
we're talking about the Goth
Doc.
Doctor.
Doc,
Yeah,
She-
Goth Doctor.
She's
Hell
probably
yeah.
across all confidants. She might
I'm not
be,
saying
she
I'm
might
not
be in my
saying
top five.
she's
She might be in my
she's
top
like
five.
the best story, but I think she has a really
know.
compelling story.
Yeah.
And I think that she also gives you some of the most useful items in the game because once you start, especially
Oh,
in
yeah.
OG Persona 5, once you get
Yeah.
those SP items, which are
Oh,
like
yeah.
golden,
yo.
but also like give me a good Goth Doctor in like any media and like I'm all in. And
Yeah.
so she was 100% my romance for both playthroughs.
She's also a representation of a broken healthcare system to where
Yeah.
it's not about what's right or wrong. It's like who has money, who has influence, who wants to control what people need. And I think like maybe her character arc itself isn't like the most nuanced or indicative of that, but the fact that that is there and that's the arc that she goes through is, you know, it obviously feeds into the Persona 5's themes of abuses of power and how power affects people's lives, and for the worse, to be honest. And then, you know, having that element in, like, don't forget about that healthcare systems are fucked up in a product of capitalistic systems. Like, I think it's a really important thing to include, at least if you're going to tell this grand message of how power structures fuck people up.
Can you imagine how much cooler it would be if they actually used why can I not remember the teacher character's name?
Kawakami.
Kawakami and
Yeah,
Takamaki,
Kawakami.
if they actually use them to talk about the healthcare system and the education system instead of making you just have to sleep with them and making them predators.
Also true. Also
Sorry,
fair.
I gotta say
Fair.
it. I gotta say it. I
Fair.
gotta say it. Okay,
Jess,
so,
you are
like,
always on point. You are always on point.
I just have to say it, like, it ruins it because, like, that's the thing is
They
I
do.
really do like those characters, but at the same time, like, I get to the point when they're like now putting their hand on that 15-year-old's thigh, and I'm like, you're supposed to
think
be
he's 16.
respectable. Oh yeah, he's 16.
17. No, he's 17, isn't he?
It doesn't matter. It's bad.
He's a high school student. He's a high school
really
student.
doesn't.
I
So bad.
don't know. Just like, and I know that, like, I feel like there's definitely that fetish there for guys with the Goth Doctor, where it's like a strong woman, like, who's all dark and sexy. Like, I get it. Okay, I get that she's the big titty goth girlfriend of the game. But and she's also older,
Jesse.
and like, and there's that older thing too, right? But at the same time, like the whole time, she's just like kind of she's like kind of abusing you,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like and
You wanna be
doing
my
weird
guinea
shit.
pig?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
my
They
guinea
both
pig. My
are.
like
There's
like,
some
that's
real
the
like
thing.
grooming shit going on
but
there.
she's
That's
just
Yeah.
like, she like wants to make sure that like you're like she does like is like consensual about it. Like, are you sure you want to do this? Like,
But okay, but here's the thing. And
But it goes
maybe-
back to power dynamics.
and
It
maybe
goes
this
back
is-
to power dynamics.
And maybe this is just because I am a girl, and the way that we look at the world, we basically have to look at everybody as everybody's a sexual predator. Just from a very young age, you're just very hyper conscious of that fact. When I am playing as Joker and I'm interacting with her, the whole time I'm just like, this is fucked up. Like, this is grooming. Like, that's like literally all that's like in my head. Because like, if the situation were flipped, and if it was some guy doctor being like, you're my
Oof.
guinea pig, are you sure you can take, like, do you want
Hell
to take
no.
this? It's so fucked up. So like, that's why as
Yeah.
I'm playing as a female, listening to this like woman in power call me her guinea pig and do all this stuff, it's like red alert. And so I don't know. And like, that's kind of how it is with the teacher too, is
no,
it's like,
that's valid
it just,
for sure.
it
The
puts you
doctor
in a
doesn't
weird
help.
place.
Because she's also like, you want these drugs? You want these drugs, kid? You gotta
Yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta do what I say. And it's like,
Yeah, come in the back of my shop.
I've been in situations with weird teachers, you know, and like it's fucked up. And so when you're playing that and like, you know, and I think that's the thing is because like you know, and I'm the last person who's gonna log and be like, men's right activist, you know what I mean? Like, but like if you think about it, like it is really harmful to younger men, because like if the situation were flipped, I think all of us would look at that situation and be like, older male doctor to a young girl being like, I'm gonna test on you, and then also we're gonna have a sexual relationship. Everybody would be like, that's fucked up. But
this
because
game is fucking
yeah, but because you're a male character and it's a female sexy doctor, it's okay. And like that's kind of not okay.
Yeah.
That's like a big reason why I know you talked about a lot of the stuff in that article you wrote, which was like I had that bookmarked. I was like, I need to finish the game before I read this, just in case it's a spoiler. But like after reading that too, it was like hard for me to like. I sympathize with Kawakami's story in particular. Like there's some there's some bad shit there. But at the end of the day, it's really hard to be sympathetic when, on the flip side of that, if you choose to go down the full confidant arc, even if you don't romance, it's like there's the whole. I mean, like I would do the late phone call because it's like I want to still do things outside, but it's like the special massage or whatever. It's like I don't know. It's just like it's hard to sympathize with that character.
I hate when they call it that. Also. That
there's sympathetic characters. I think they're both powerful female characters. Like there's so many good things. And like Michael, what you said, talking about like using them as talking points for like the abuse of power in healthcare and in education, and like the fact that like a teacher who should be making enough money to not have to be going through all this shit is not, and like this woman who is like barred for malpractice when like there were situations around that just got her, and that's like it's fucked up. And there's so much that's interesting there that could be talked about that it feels weird to tarnish it by like making them predators at the end, you know? And like I'm not gonna say that this shit can't, like I totally understand that we all have like our fetishes and like kinks and like and things that we're attracted to, and some people are attracted to women in power. I'm not gonna like knock that shit. Like I have a million problematic things that I like, you know? we all do, you know? And like I think that's the thing, is like the second that I wrote this article, everybody's like, purity police, like you just wanna, like I don't fucking care. The game can have whatever it wants in there, but I'm not gonna like, you know, look at it and be like, that's dandy. Like, you know, like you're allowed to point shit out and be like, that's kind of messed up. And like, that's all I was doing is it can be in the game, but like, I think our job is
just call the game on the bullshit.
Yeah. Like, I think that's just our job. It's not to control what people put in fucking video games. It's just to be like, hey, like, can we think about this for 5 seconds and talk about it?
Yeah.
Even if something makes you uncomfortable, it's like nice just to talk about it and like, you know, like say, oh, this makes me uncomfortable and here's why. It doesn't have to be this whole, I don't know.
I think
it goes back to what you said earlier about Atlas, like never going deep enough into the thing where it's like at its base level, right? Takami's story is about like, I want to help this person. Why do I have to jump through so many hoops to make a difference, to use my practice to make people's lives better? But they never really go beyond that. And same thing with Kawakami. It's like, I should be making more money. I'm educating the next generation. Why do I have to struggle to make ends meet by dressing up as a maid and hanging out with weird high school students? Like, it's just, they never go, they need to go that extra step.
For sure. And like having a crush on a teacher is like such a common thing too. Like I feel like the majority of people I talked to had like a thing on a teacher, you know what I mean? So it's
let me tell you about my AP US history teacher.
Wait, weird. It was my AP US history teacher too. It was my
Hell AP yeah. Actually.
I wasn't in AP anything.
But no, US history. Everybody has that thing, right? So like it could have even been interesting if they have it to where like Joker wants to pursue something, and like Kawakami says multiple times, like, oh, but that would be wrong since I'm an adult and you're a student. And like, it would have actually been interesting if like you have a conversation and she's like, here's the thing, like, I think you're special and like you too. But like, you know, there is a power, like there's an age thing, there's a power thing. Like, I can't do that. Like, I respect my job and my profession. And like, I want you to take me seriously. I want, you know, like if there's an actual conversation that like, I don't know. And like I said, games don't have to moralize. It doesn't have to be there. But at the same time, there are so many like moments that you could have made that would have been so strong.
And that would have been in very, very consistent with the overall message that Persona 5 is trying to tell. Like in a way, like as much as I love the game, like moments like those undermine what it's trying to say, because like I finished the game and I'm like, yo, I have an overwhelming sense of clarity of like, what it means to take action and like how to identify when things are wrong and the things that you like. I can't go into the metaverse, but like, you know, I have a stronger sense of when I see things that are wrong and think like I can do something about it. But when the game is like, hey, she bad though, and, since she bad, like it's cool. Like that undermines the overall theme, because I love these characters so much, but it also undermines them too. So it's, you know, I love Goth Doctor, I love Kawakami. But I think they're bad. Like they're the same age as me now, and I'll be like, yo, hey, you know, what's up, girl?
Just imagine though, like doing all of that shit with An and Ryuji, who are being like, you know, like basically like sexually harassed and actually and like physically, you know, by Kamoshida. And then like imagine Joker has to have the conversation a year later being like, by the way, you know, Kawakami, like our teacher, been fucking her. Like how do you think that An and Ryuji would react to that? Like
they're like, yo, that's fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what do you remember, like that creepy teacher who did all that shit, and now you're telling me this teacher is doing this to you? Like, I don't know.
I don't think they smashed. I mean, that's up to you, but still, like, it doesn't matter because like that shit still is still weird.
She asked if his parents are home, and then oh wait, no, that's the Goth Doctor who I don't know.
Still like
they're like, are your parents like home? Let's go upstairs.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like that literally happens. And I watched those cutscenes and I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I will say, like, while I do think like that those bigger topics about like healthcare and like the education system and all that, and you know, teacher salary and all that stuff is like really, really important, obviously. But I think like regarding the aspects of like Persona, like those two confidant routes were like more compelling to me because it was more intimate. It wasn't like, and that's kind of like the reason why, personally, from what I played of Persona 4 Golden and you know, all of Persona 5, I prefer Persona 4 Golden because that whole experience feels a lot more intimate, like from ground level to the top of the top, while like Persona 5 is much more big picture stuff about like corruption and things like that. So like, you know, they do touch upon those things in both arcs. But like, I'm glad that they went through like a more personal story, like Kwame with the parents, and then like, you know, Tai with the little girl, because that like made it, I don't know, it just made it feel more personal. It made it feel more like that I was actually getting to know them as a person than like the overarching message of like the healthcare system and the education system. Like, and I think like, I think it does enough to get those to kind of like show like, hey, like this is something that not just happens here, but it happens in real society as well, while still like making those one-on-one conversations personal with that character and seeing them like grow in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Morgana, because I feel like I hear a lot of people hate Morgana, and that is a terrible, terrible thing. I understand if you played vanilla that apparently he tells you to go to sleep all the time and it's really annoying, and that's not in Royal, but I feel like Morgana is such a great companion character. Like I love having, I mean, again, I'm a little biased because I love cats and I have a cat and I love my cat. My cat's like my soulmate. So like I get it that I'm a little biased in that regard, but like I like the dynamic that Morgana and Joker have. I kind of like that, you know, Morgana's, you know, quite literally an outcast in the group because he's not a human. And also, like, you know, there's the point in the middle of the game or whatever where, like, he literally leaves and goes and finds Haru by chance. And, like, I like his story, and I like that there's a lot of mystery around him. I think that he's a character that doesn't get enough love, and I love Morgana. So I just want to throw it out there.
I just want to throw my support behind Morgana. I love Morgana. You know, and also because Cassandra Lee Morris, as soon as I hear her voice, I'm like, that's one of my favorite characters right there. I love her work, but and also I love cats too. And it's just I can't help but sympathize with Morgana's arc. And yeah, it's a very good companion character, especially compared to Persona 4 Golden, where you had Teddy. Yo, fuck Teddy. He's in this post right
Say,
here. But
I was gonna say, how
fucking-
does everybody feel about Teddy?
So
fucking hate Teddy.
Teddy.
I didn't play Persona 4, but like my infatuation with Persona as I was playing Royal got to the point where I saw that the dancing games were on sale on the PSN, so I was like, I'm buying this collection. And I started playing 3 and 4 because 5 I think had a mild spoiler when you started up, so I didn't touch 5 yet. But I was playing through 3 and 4, and I was like, fuck Teddy. Like, I can't even listen to this dude talk. I want nothing to do with Teddy. Like, get out of here.
Why does this bear have a zipper?
Oh, you find out.
I'm looking at a
You do
picture
find
and it
out.
was fucking horrifying.
I didn't mind Teddy too much. I don't know. And like I think that I like Morgana too, but I feel like Morgana at times has, like, for those of you who have seen My Hero, I don't know how many have seen My Hero Academia. Yeah. Morgana has the slightest bit of Mineta tendencies. And I think that that's why there's some distaste.
Oh, but Teddy.
But Teddy does too. Teddy does too.
1,000 times worse in that sense.
Yes. Yeah, you're totally right.
So with me, like I don't like deny that there's some issues with Teddy for sure, but like I also think, but I do agree that like that Morgana is, I think, and I think like I don't think it's like really completely fair to compare Teddy to, I mean, like I know that Teddy is introduced like in the beginning, but he's not a party member until much later on, and I don't know, I know that they're both like the like mascot like companions for each game, but like I still don't see them as a 1-for-1 in that role, if that makes sense. But like with Morgana, like you know, I like don't mind like I think Sandra Lee Morris is a great voice actress, but I just didn't like the voice of Morgana. I just rubbed me the wrong way whenever he spoke. And I think that my issue with Morgana, I think because Morgana is another character I don't really care for, is that, you know, the beginning Morgana is just like, hey, you know, I'm gonna like basically like I don't want to say like straight up use you, but like, hey, we're gonna team up, but like I'm gonna basically teach you everything to become a Phantom Thief, blah 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 blah. So you can help me figure out who I really am, regain my memories and stuff like that. And I just feel like that there's these inconsistencies of like how he treats not only like Joker, but like the entire group. And then he has the audacity later on to like leave the group because he thinks he's being treated poorly. And granted, like in that one instance he was, but I'm just like, it's pretty 50-50, dog.
You have to think about it in like the terms of like, so Morgana can sometimes be a bit of a bully and like a little and like kind of rude and stuff like that, but it all comes from
that's how cats are. But that's how cats are.
I was saying, so generally the people who are like that, who are like rude and who use people and who are like, it's an insecurity problem. And Morgana is an incredibly insecure character. Like that's like just like a thread throughout his whole arc. And like, so when he leaves, it's because he feels not wanted and like those insecurities like manifest stronger. So like to me, that's how I justified it. It's just like, that's just like a thing about Morgana's personality.
And also I think like people tend, or I guess the characters tend to forget that Morgana is the one who kind of told Ryuji on in Joker that, yo, this is the metaverse and this is how you navigate the metaverse. But I never feel like there was enough due credit to Morgana for essentially being a leader in that sense, which kind of contextualizes the frustration that Morgana has when he's like, yo, fuck y'all ain't showed me love, so fuck y'all, eat my ass, and then dips out. So I would probably feel the same way too, like, yo, this whole shit's happening because I taught y'all motherfuckers, like, and I feel like that's justified. Rude.
No, I
think 1,000% would be frustrating. And no, me, like I'm not.
You can be frustrated with things
now, and I'd be like, yo,
blatantly like rude to people. Is what I'm saying.
They were pretty rude to him in that encounter, though.
And that never taken seriously by the party.
Throughout the game, Morgana is just consistently giving like either Joker or Ryuji shit. Like Lady On, yeah, he's just like, oh, Lady On. Like,
I mean, Ryuji sometimes deserves the shit because Ryuji is not the brightest person.
Okay. This is where I'm gonna.
You just police someone for because they're not very smart.
No,
That's
but like
we need to defend Ryuji.
no,
the squad
what
come
I'm
out.
what I'm saying is like
Ryuji for life.
what I'm saying is like Ryuji sometimes like has the wrong ideas for how to tackle scenarios, and Morgana knows that is the wrong way to go about something, and Ryuji has a tendency to be like, hey, we're the Phantom Thieves in a crowd of people, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think Morgana's more of like a, yo, chill out, we gotta cut this short, like stop talking about whatever you're talking about. I think that's more of his reaction to Ryuji.
Yeah, no, that's more like, because they're going undercover, it's not like really like bullying or trying to like be offensive, but like, I don't know, I just feel like
Morgana,
like,
I think is
in combat. Go ahead.
No, I say it's condescending. Morgana is condescending towards Ryuji.
Okay.
So I totally get that.
I mean, like again,
I've been like that before in my life,
and I feel like Ryuji is only like retaliating back. Like I think he's like in most instances he's just retaliating back at Morgana, not like starting the fight. You know what I mean?
Like it just doesn't really seem like there's a winner loser. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just different personalities interacting. So I don't look at it and I don't think like Morgana's in the wrong or Morgana's in the right. Like I just look at it as like Morgana and Ryuji, I think part of the reason they butt heads so much is because they both have an insecurity problem,
For sure.
you know? And like on top of that, like Ryuji is just he's called Skull. And I think part of that might be because he's a bit of a numbskull. Like he's very headstrong and he just goes into shit. And like Morgana is a cat. She's savvy, or I always call her she. It's because when I first played, I thought Morgana was a girl.
I did too.
Of course, yeah, me too.
But,
me too.
Same.
But Morgana is very like savvy and more like catty about things, you know what I mean? And like isn't upfront about how they feel all the time. So I don't know. Like I said, for me, it's like I don't necessarily like look at characters in most things as being like right or wrong, or this person is good, this one is bad. I think it's just, especially when you have like a big group of people in a party, it's like, okay, these are just people who like have different ways of interacting, and that's what makes it so cool.
I think that
I feel like even if that situation, even if that's like true, like I still don't find that part of him leaving the group justified. I just feel like it's just like you do the same things to them, like just you know, it's just like
sometimes you just gotta be a dramatic bitch.
That's high school kids.
I think it's fine. It's fine that it happened, and I understand why it happened, and all's good at the end.
Yeah, I don't think that part was like a big like thing to me, only because I feel like I have had those interactions in my life where I've been the Morgana, and I've had those interactions where I've been the other people.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I agree with Jess. Like I don't think anyone's right or wrong there. I think just like, you know, I think the rest of the Phantom Thieves were like, they meant well. I don't think they were trying to be mean to Morgana, but like they took a joke too far maybe, or they like took the, you know, whatever it was too far to the point where Morgana was just like, I'm all set.
Yeah, and I've had this happen in groups of friends.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've just
friends like that.
I've just gotten into dumb arguments, and I'm like, we're not friends anymore. And then like 2 days later, we're texting each other like, man, that was fucking dumb. And then we're like friends. Like that happens so much, especially in high school.
That's fine. I just, and like again, like I just think that there's what like you know, Jess agrees that like that he was like at times unnecessarily condescending to characters, and I think that like even I don't know, it just like a lot of the time when it happened, I'm just like, it just seemed unnecessary. Like it just like
it's fine.
We can all admit that
I'm just
like a dick whenever Ryuji misses an attack in the metaverse. Like
yeah, it's like unnecessary.
Joker,
like
you dumb piece of shit. How'd you miss that? It's like, okay, relax,
I think that's just more of like, I don't know, like part of the reason why I like Morgana so much is because like I feel like Morgana like is quite literally a cat, but like also I think a lot of the way Morgana interacts with the other people like kind of embodies how a cat is sometimes. Like a cat can be that way. Like I love my cat, and my cat loves me, and like we'll be fucking snuggly and cuddly and loving life for hours, and then like fucking snap my fingers and she like, you know, bats my face and she's like, what are you doing? I'm done being pet, or I'm done like
they totally have favorites too.
Yeah.
And like just like assholes for no reason.
Exactly. like when Mike, like not pandemic times, when Mike comes over my house, like my cat treats Mike with the most respect besides me or Jen. Like there's no one else that Navi treats the way that she treats Mike. Like when Mike comes over, she'll like rub up against his leg. If he sits down, she'll jump up and like fucking purr and like lay all over his stuff. And it's like, any other guest that comes to my house, nah, Navi ain't having that shit. She's like, who the fuck are these clowns? It's like, that's just kind of, I don't know, like just having a cat for so long, I feel like a lot of the intricacies of Morgana's personality, I think, is just like meant to play on a cat. That's why I like the character.
I have a question.
Do it up. No, go.
So my fun question is, do any of you ship any characters with another character that's not like Joker?
So on some level, I kind of want, and this is purely from like a very superficial level. I'm like, oh yeah, they both like games, so Futaba and Shinya should just be like best friends. Like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Ryuji and An.
Yeah, I always thought Ryuji and An's. Yeah, I always feel like Ryuji and An's like chemistry is like they're meant to be in a relationship.
They're like that hypothetical, like they're like that stereotypical, like, oh, girl like thinks boy is annoying, and then but like secretly like loves him, and
It's
that's
the
the
Hermione
vibe I
Ron
get.
Weasley thing.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
That's
No.
no.
I would say it's more like My Valentine and Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh. Like literally that.
That they're both blonde.
That's
For some
lost on me.
No. My Valentine and Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
I know who they are. I don't
compared
watch Yu-Gi-Oh, so I
to everyone
don't.
else in the show.
No, I don't always ship them because I feel like it's one of those things to where like she thinks that he's annoying and he's kind of a dumbass, but you know she has a soft spot for him, and like he would worship her. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
he doesn't think he has a chance. He's like, oh, she's just like my really cool friend. But like if there was something there, he would be like the best. So I don't know. I've always shipped them, but I also did ship Chie and Yosuke and Golden also. So I don't know. There's just something about that.
Comparison. I think a solid comparison is Ash and Misty from Pokemon.
I just broke Michael. I feel so bad.
Ash and Misty from Pokemon?
No,
Ryuji and
Chie and Yosuke. No, don't. Don't do Chie like that.
Does no one see it? Does no one agree with me? No one's saying
With
anything.
what?
No,
Wait, what'd you say? Ash and Misty?
Ash and Misty, sure, yeah.
I said Ash and Misty is like Ryuji and An.
Yeah.
Like, kind of.
Yeah,
I kind of did.
Yeah, it's not a bad.
Because like
comparison.
Ryuji would like have no idea unless On like straight up told him. Like he would be just completely clueless about it.
I
Kind
can
of like
see it.
how it was with Misty and Ash.
Yeah, I
So
can see it.
to kind of circle back, we got my best confidant, we got Jessica's, we got Cam's. Do the three of you have favorite confidants that you want to touch on? Because we never ever got there.
Sorry, I'll just get out of the way.
So are we going? So we're going best confidant, and then we're gonna talk best girl after? Because like,
I mean, you already went over that.
Futaba. Are you kidding me though?
I'm just gonna say my favorite confidant is Sojiro. I don't have a lot to say. I just think Sojiro is like
Sojiro's
100% the best.
Did anyone
I
else?
think-
For like a decent part of the beginning of the game, I was like, Sojiro might be a bad character. Like I was like for a while, like there's something about Sojiro that potentially either we're gonna end up in his palace or like there's something else going on. Because like when he's presented at the beginning, he's very mysterious, and it seems like he's kind of like a player,
dick.
and he's a dick. Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
There was a level of like potentially maybe he's bad, but I ended up loving Sojiro. Like he's like absolutely one of the best characters in the game.
I just love those moments where you know he eventually teaches you how to make coffee, and then you make the coffee and he sits down and he tries it, and like the first couple of times he's like, yeah, it's not great, it's not perfect, you know, you'll get. And then when you make a really good cup of coffee and he like gives you a compliment and you're like, yeah, I fucking impressed you, man. Hell yeah.
I think for both
characters,
characters,
just like it like warmed my heart in such a weirdly specific way. Maybe I just have a broken brain. I don't know.
No, I think for both characters, it's like a good like father-son dynamic that maybe neither of them have ever had.
For sure.
Hey.
What's funny, I hated him at first because of a misunderstanding on my part. So obviously when the police tell your story about what happened the night that you stopped the girl from basically like being assaulted by what's his name?
Shido.
I can't even think of his name.
Shido.
When you stop that, the police end up reporting it because she does the confession or whatever, and she says, oh no, like nothing was happening, he just assaulted Shido. And so that must have been what Sojiro heard. But when I first started playing the game and he's like, oh, you shouldn't have interfered, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, this guy is saying you shouldn't have interfered with a woman about to be like raped. Like, and like that's how I took his character, and I hated him for the longest time. And I'm like, oh, you know what though? He wouldn't have had that information, so maybe he really does think this was just like a bad kid who did that, because he treats you like you're such a bad kid. Like, you know, don't mess up, don't mess up. I'll send you back. Blah blah blah. And I'm just like, this, like, why am I being punished for stopping a woman being assaulted? And then I thought about it more, and I'm like, okay, this makes more sense. But at first, I thought he was just like a very morally yucky bad person.
Yeah. I definitely got that impression too.
He's got a couple moments where he, you know, he like comments like, "Ooh, your friend's pretty," and like stuff like that. And it's like, all right, yeah, they're giving him a kind of like the creepy old dude thing for a little bit, but he pushes he pushes past that, and so because his character is so much more dynamic than that. But at first, I thought that's the kind of character he was going to be for the entire game.
I'm so glad he wasn't.
Yeah,
exactly. Like typical dad shit. So I was like, you know,
it's like,
and he was more, he was more like, oh shit, you should holla at her. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to like, you know, give you some advice, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, so, I think my favorite confidant is probably Shinya. I think I just really liked his story and just kind of like that interaction of like having like a little brother that you just kind of help out. But my favorite character is Akechi still.
Ooh. Hell yeah.
Okay.
That's you want to get I'm interested to get into that because like I can see it. He's not mine, but there are reasons why I think people would like that.
Well, it was weird for me because like again, so I want to preface this by saying like playing Persona 5 vanilla the first time, like I didn't really know what was going on. I wasn't paying attention. Like I was picking answers to questions and like I would level up and I didn't put a lot of thought into it. So it wasn't until I beat the game that I found out that there were like 3 confidants that were just automatic. Nothing, it didn't matter what I picked. So I just want to preface that by saying that. So like when we meet Akechi and like we get his character from the beginning, I took him, like, I had no suspicion about him whatsoever. I honestly just took him at face value. I liked the idea. I basically saw him and I thought to myself, okay, this guy's definitely going to join my party. And I kind of liked the idea that he was on the opposite side of, like, the team in the sense that the Phantom Thieves were thieves and he was a cop. But I took it as if he would be a good person if he teamed up. Like, he wasn't a bad person. He was just on the opposite side of the law, and that at some point they would probably have to team up, and he wouldn't be like a bad guy. And I was waiting for that to happen throughout the entire game. I was like, oh, okay, I want this guy in my party. I know he's gonna show up eventually. And then he shows up. I'm like, cool, we're gonna work together. And mind you, by this point, I'd already figured out. I'm like, okay, the bad guy, the very final bad guy is going to be this bald dude that's been showing up all the time. He's clearly an asshole. We're all working up to fight him. So, and I had also, basically, I had come up with my own conceptions about what Akechi's character was. Like, I knew, okay, at the beginning, someone sold us out. Maybe it's like a double cross where Akechi sells them out, but it was like a plan because they needed to do something. You know what, that trope where you have to get captured to get close to whatever. So I had all that in my head. I said, all right, Akechi's gonna be my boy. Let's do this. And then he's apparently the bad guy. Fuck. And I remember this. I had tweeted out something like, I've never been so betrayed. And Brenden was super concerned about, because I didn't elaborate as to what happened. I was just like, I've never been so betrayed. Yo, what happened? I was like, listen, when you finish Persona 5, we can talk about it.
I thought something legitimately happened to Mike. I was like, Mike, what is going on? Like, who would have to fuck up right now?
So he betrays us, and I was like, shit, that sucks. But let me find out why he betrayed us. And then we start that fight in Shido's palace, where he says, yo, fuck Shido. I don't give a shit about Shido, man. He's my dad, and I'm gonna fucking ruin his life. So then I was like, all right, we're still in this. I'm gonna beat your ass, and we are gonna team up, and we're gonna fuck up Shido together. Nah, he fucking dies. I was like, all right, that sucks, but here we go. We're gonna get through the game, and then we have God of Control. I'm like, damn, this shit's still going on. Well, maybe Akechi will come back, and he did not come back. He was just fucking dead in the game, which is the only reason why I bought Royal. I only bought Royal because I wanted more Akechi. That being said, I think I liked the character when I thought he was a good guy, and then even when they had like the whole reveal with him and his actual motivations being that, you know, he was essentially abandoned as a child, not really abandoned by his mother, but by his father, and him just wanting to ruin his life. Like, I feel as though Akechi, the one thing that really screwed him up was that he didn't have a Morgana at the beginning. I think if he had a Morgana at the very beginning, and Morgana was like, hey, listen, if you want to, you know, fix this, you can make him, you know, he didn't have that information going into it. So he shows up to his dad's place trying to, you know, pull one over him. That's the other thing. The entire, and that's why he really wanted to defeat Maruki at the end, is that the entire game he was always being used by somebody else. Even when he thought he was in charge, he thought he was using Shido. Shido was using him. He thought he was using the Phantom Thieves. The Phantom Thieves were using him. And at the end of the day, they were all being used by the God of Control. So he was like, listen, I'm tired of being controlled by people. We're gonna fix this, and then I'm out.
My favorite thing about Akechi is that when he's in your party and you're fighting with him, he is legitimately a psychopath. Like when he kills, when anyone kills an enemy, he's like flipping
he fucking
out.
Loves it.
He is insane. Like he is absolutely insane.
I really wish he got like an attack buff every time you killed an enemy. Like he just got like, if he goes crazy. It's like just some like hidden mechanic within him. But that team up attack,
like his Showtime attack in Royal, like
that's what I'm talking about.
Legitimately
so
a crazy person. Like he loves killing people.
Akechi is a cool as hell character. And the only other thing I was going to add to this, because I do want to make sure we say it before we wrap all this up. Honestly, the whole like thing with Joker being captured and like the fake death and all of that shit is one of the coolest moments in any video game. So, like, in my opinion, I loved that whole segment. It was incredibly well done and smart, and like is definitely one of those like top 10 video game moments.
Damn.
I also
really
appreciate
that's really good
that Royal kind of takes the time to unpack that a little bit more than the original game did, because I felt like the original game was kind of like, we did this cool thing, and you're kind of left like, wait, how did that work? And you're trying to like piece it together. But then like in Royal, Futaba is literally like, you could come talk to me. We could like walk through this step by step. And I really appreciated that, because I feel like that was a criticism of the original game, was like, oh, that was really cool, but I wish they kind of, you know, explained it a little bit better. And Royal was just kind of like, we don't have to go through it again, but if you want, you could go upstairs and talk to Futaba, and she'll lay it out for you. And I appreciated that touch.
So I wanted to clarify, like they did explain it in original P5, but this time they made it an option.
Not necessarily an option, but like they do the same. Elaborate. They further elaborate. So like you can go to Futaba and talk to her, and she will kind of like step by step lay out what exactly they did. Like it's the same cutscene from Persona 5 when they're explaining everything that happened.
Yeah.
But then Royal has the additional, you can go talk to Futaba, and she will kind of like go through a little more of the nuance of it. So it's a little more backstory into like exactly how that worked. Because
I'm kind of confused, because I don't remember anything new that was shared to me during that plan, and I definitely would have like had her tell me like what the step-by-step was. So I'm just like,
they definitely show you a little bit more when you talk to her of like, unless I'm completely misremembering, but I don't think I am, like them like setting up in the room and like stuff like that. Like I don't remember any of that from Persona 5.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But yeah, no, that was like one of those moments where like I don't know, like I don't know what my top 10 video game moments would be, but like I love anything where it's just like you see the dominoes fall perfectly, and like that's one of those moments, and it was so satisfying. It was just like such a good like 30 minutes of the game or whatever.
Yeah, I think
it's. And
go ahead.
Sorry,
go.
No, I also just love like when games start off at a certain place and then they go through it and then it connects. Yeah, and so like the connection between that and then everything following, like that whole part of the game is just like chef's kiss.
Yeah,
so good.
Anytime something starts off in media res and like follows through with it and nails it, like it's so rewarding, because like there's a part of me leading up to Sai's Palace where like when I realize that the next palace I'm going to is Sai's Palace, and I'm like, oh shit, like I remember texting Mike like, so after I finish this palace, I'm current with the beginning of the game, like these storylines now merge, like I'm back to where we're like, what is going to happen next. And I was like so looking forward to like seeing what the like present in the game like entailed. So, Michael, that brings us to your favorite confidant.
There's one thing. There's one thing I wanted to ask Mike about Akechi. So like when he like was gone in Cheeto's palace, like you weren't like satisfied with that ending for him.
It's not even that I was sad. I wasn't satisfied. I guess you could say I was satisfied. I think I just expected him to return. Oh, I don't really know why I thought that. I think it was just more along the lines of I wanted him to ultimately have a part of like taking down Cheeto, because that was what he was gunning for. Granted, he went about it in pretty much all the wrong ways, but like I wanted him to be able to do that. Also, just the fact that he also got to change characters. Like I liked his outfit. Don't get me wrong. I liked the prince suit. I liked it, but I also liked the idea of being able to play with him with Loki in his other suit. I was like, oh, that'd be cool to do too. Maybe I can switch between the two. So it wasn't like I get that was where his arc was supposed to end. It's just, you know, dying.
Yeah, I just think it's I just thought I really liked that, like, because at first like I was kind of like conflicted about it. But then when I reflected on it more, I really liked it just because it just, you know, even though it's a great character, like I feel like the kind of the best characters just, you know, die, whether you're like they're good or bad, like, or whatever their, you know, goals are, like, and I think that I just think that with, you know, because he's basically like the reflection of Joker. He's like his other, you know, and like so like yeah, and it's just one of those things, like I feel like if Akechi did get like his justice, it wouldn't, I don't know, I just don't think it would really feel, not, I don't want to say earned, but some sort of,
there's just
segment, like some like in that bubble of like, I don't think he really deserved this because of all the shit he did, you know?
Nah, he straight up killed people.
Yeah.
He killed that we know of 3 people, 1 attempted murder. I mean,
here's the thing with
most people sucked.
Here's the thing with
most of those people sucked.
Yes, but here's the thing with Akechi is like he knew that he knew he could have he didn't have to kill anybody. He was killing them.
Didn't know that.
What do you mean he didn't know that? He didn't know that the Phantom Thieves were changing hearts?
He knew that then, but when he started off, when he first went to Shido, he probably did not have the information. He knew,
but he had it at some point and didn't choose to change.
He was already well into it, and he had a plan. He wanted to fuck up Shido's life. He needed Shido to actually get what Shido. He needed Shido to get to where he wanted to be, just so he could take him down from the top.
Yeah, so revenge just consumed him. Like he was too far gone.
I think Akechi is one of it just kind of depends on personal preference. I think it's like, because it's redemption. Like there are some people who like redemption arcs when they end with like a death, like it's very poetic and satisfying, and like sometimes it works really well. But then you have people who it's like the Kylo Ren dilemma, right? Like, you know, Kylo. Well, actually, I don't know if I like. Is it okay to spoil that? I feel like everybody knows, but
whatever.
I started saying it, and then I was like, what if I'm being a dick right now? But no, like Kylo Ren dies at the end, and everybody was like, what? That's fucking stupid. Like, why didn't he get a chance to redeem himself? And everybody's like, well, he did like kill his dad and shit. Like, so it kind of makes sense. But like, you know, and like to me, when it comes to stuff like that, I think it's just personal preference. Like there are sometimes when it makes more sense for a character to die. There are sometimes when it makes more sense for them to like be forced with living with what they've done, you know, and like that whole thing. I think Akechi could go either way, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I think Akechi's like a really, really, really cool character and a really cool antagonist, and like that rivalry and that like, I don't know, you needed somebody who was there to question you the whole time you did what you were doing. Like, are you really being just? Like, are you just taking this into your own hands? It's like the classic, like any sort of vigilante justice situation. Like people will do that shit with Batman, right? Like, are you really doing the right thing, or are you just doing police brutality without a badge on? You know what I mean? Like, like you need that person there. And Akechi is phenomenal at being that.
Yeah.
And that's what I really liked with him at the beginning was when, you know, when you meet him at the TV place or whatever, and he said, what if the Phantom Thieves changed your friends, like, changed him? Is that good or bad? If they just have this power and they're running around doing this based off of their own, like, so far they've only done it to bad people, but they're running around completely unchecked. And I like the idea, again, of if he were just that guy, I did like that as as a character, and it just turns out that it was all the acts. But whatever.
I also, and this is like a weird thing to connect to that too, the text messages at the bottom during the loading screens and like the popularity polls. I think that's also another like very small but useful tool to like make you think about your actions. And like the perception of you. And like Akechi also is kind of a tool to do that, is to make you think about, how you're perceived and what you're actually doing.
100%.
So my favorite confidant. Oh my god. Geez. All right.
Y'all didn't know this was a 6-hour podcast? Like,
hey, shit. I'm down for that. But oh boy. All right. Shit. Well, then I'll get to it. I think that what hit me the most was Ryuji. Just because of like having that best friend with you, and how it wraps up at the end where y'all just chilling in a ramen shop, just getting ramen with each other. And it's like, he stops and thinks like, damn, man, I never had anyone like you before. Like, I appreciate you. And just him realizing that and him saying that to you, of like, me as the player, I'm like, yeah, I appreciate Ryuji, and like the shit that he's been through is rough. And I know why he is the way he is, and I love him for it. But then when he comes around and says that I appreciate you, and I've come to understand why I am the way I am because of you, like, yo, that shit fucked me up, man. Like, in original Persona 5 and in Royal, I knew it was coming in Royal, and it still fucked me up, man. Like, I don't know. It's something that's really special when. Fuck. I'm thinking about it. Fuck, man, damn. I'm thinking about it right now, like how much I love like my best friends, bro. Like, and then when the moment I realized that they were my best friends, like, yo, we got each other till the end, bro. I don't give a fuck. It's kind of like reliving those moments, and like, I don't know, and y'all just chilling in like a ramen shop and shit, and like, damn, that shit hit me, bro. Like, fuck. But shit, man, damn.
Well, and like, if I'm completely crazy here, because I'm gonna speak like from like what I perceive with men as a woman. So like, if I'm so
yeah.
so off base, like, let me know. But like, I think that it's much harder for guys to be intimate with their guy friends.
Yeah.
To actually be vulnerable. So like, having a moment where like you can be intimate and vulnerable and be like, I love you, like, like, I have your back, like, I love you, you're my best friend. Like, that moment.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, it's like that. It's really meaningful. I mean, even me watching it and just being like, oh my gosh, like seeing like two male characters interact, and like, it's not like, I don't know. It's not like this. It's just like a very genuine, sweet thing. And like, we need to see more of that. I wish that just men in general were more like that and just more open with their, emotions and being vulnerable. So like, I fucking love Ryuji. Also, Ryuji is like, baby, I love him.
Yeah, that should just connect with me also, because like his story leading up to it too is very personal for me as well. So like that's why. And you're always kind of led to think that he is annoying. He's my best bro who I will take aside and be like, yo, you need to shut the fuck up right now. Right, because it's like, I don't love everything that my homies do. But I still love them for who they are, and they're still my ride or dies. And that's the same thing with Ryuji. Like, dog, you need to shut your ass up right now, bro. Like, I'm gonna keep it real with you. So like, he's my favorite confidant arc because it hit. If we're talking Royal specific, I think Maruki is really important, because I guess I didn't see the twist at the end when he is the final antagonist, and the reasons why he is. Still throughout the core story is that he was a missing piece that I think that would have benefited the original game very much. And it's someone who can contextualize mental health. And with the way Persona is about how people experience all this fucked up shit in their lives, and how they deal with it in different ways, and how it affects them in different ways, and how it leads them to be who they are, whether that be good or bad or whatever. So to have a character who takes you aside and said, hey, like, all right, let's just talk about the shit that happened in your life, like, walk through it, and then kind of validate your feelings and your experiences. And he does that not just for Joker. And maybe I wish that there was more when he did it with An and Ryuji and Haru and other characters, but it's there. And I only realized that once I played Royal, and we're like, oh shit, I wish this was in the base game where someone took you aside and said, you know what? All the bad shit that you're feeling, all you're experiencing in your life, and the reasons why you feel the way, that's valid. But, you know, let's walk through that. Let's try to unpack that a little bit so you can have a better understanding of who you are and help you kind of navigate your world in a smarter way. Of course, like even at the end when he tells Joker, like, you have a strong moral compass, and then like your sense of justice is like no one I've ever seen before. And I'm just like, to get to that point too, it's like, shit. God
You're
damn
all
it,
good, man. You're among friends.
This is why this game is so fucking good.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's like I never had anyone like that before who said like, yo, the shit that you're feeling is like, you know, you need to work through that, man. But like, I still see something in you, and I admire that. Like, that's what he tells you at the end. And I think that's why when you get to the third semester, that's why it hurt so much to go through that palace, is because like there's someone that looked like fuck. Shit. It's like, oh, okay, here's this character who I thought I looked up to. And in a way, like, I understand why he is the way he is, but I still have to fight you. It's a clash of ideals. And I think that's why that last bit hit so hard, is because like my perception of Persona was always like, let me tell you about this. Here's a game that's going to tell you how to tear down power structures that fuck up everyone's lives. Now at the end, here's a thing that still fits in here that's now a clash of ideals that, you know, you both want a world that's better for everyone, but I don't fuck with the way that you want the world to be. So we have to fight. And like, I see that shit all the time in Yakuza. Like, we see that a lot in other media. But Persona builds it in a very different way, where it's a lot more intimate, to where like you get to know this character over 100 hours and you spend time with them, you identify with them, they help you. And then when you have to, you know, put an end to it, like that shit hurt, bro. Like, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Like that shit was tough, man. When the music comes in too, because like the music also, the songwriting, and not just the instrumentation, but the songwriting is also indicative of what's happening in the story and what you're supposed to be feeling too. Like in the final battle theme, and then like when life will change is supposed to play as you walk up to the final fight. It's a different song. It's the song I Believe. And like when you sit down and listen to those songs, it's like, that's Lynn telling you the story, telling you of what everyone's feeling. It's the same thing with Rivers in the Desert. It's just like all these songs that play into it, that when I hear these songs, I can't take them away from the context in which I experienced them in the game. And that's why all these moments hit so fucking hard too. So basically what I'm trying to say is that Maruki is a very important confidant, I think. And I think he's very important to the overall message of Persona 5. And one of the main reasons why P5R is the essential version of the game.
You changed my opinion on Maruki. So
I think Maruki also comes in such a critical moment in that game, because it's after Kamoshida, and it's like you all just experienced something that like no high schooler should have to deal with. And like the reality is people deal with that all the time, and that's part of the problem. And so when Maruki comes in, he's like, I know you probably don't want to talk to me. I'm a stranger, but like, it's for your benefit. Like, you should please come see me.
Yeah.
And it takes them a little while to warm up to him. But I think, and not having that in Persona 5 and looking back, like you said, like that is such a critical piece of that game that should be there.
I think that's like, because we've talked about this a few different times during the episode, where Persona 5 has a way of using, you know, big issues, trauma and stuff as like the backdrop or as the plot or as the subplot or whatever, and maybe doesn't always nail it, or maybe doesn't always go into detail, or maybe it doesn't always show it in the light that maybe would be a little bit more impactful or useful. But hearing Michael talk about Maruki in that way, now I'm like, okay, you know, this character actually kind of is showing us that like talking to someone about what's going on is important and can be very helpful, especially because some of those characters, I believe Joker in particular, is like hesitant to talk to Maruki, like doesn't want to open up to him, doesn't want to tell him about stuff. So it's like that commentary I think is kind of important on like it is important to confide in people and talk to people, whether it be, someone, that's a therapist or not. I think that social interaction is important, and I think is often, vilified in a certain way, or is made out to be a weakness. Like if you seek help in that way, you're weak in some way, and that's something that you should be afraid of, and you shouldn't want to feel that way. Like you should be embarrassed if you're seeking help in that way. And I think like you just changed my mind on Maruki, because I think that's like a really important commentary on that type of issue.
I think Maruki also. Oh, no, Jessica.
Oh no, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, all I was gonna say is Maruki is a character who I feel like needed to exist. Like that piece of the puzzle needed to be set in place. Like there needed to be that validity there. I liked having the different perspectives of like An, who I think is more enthusiastic about it, and Ryuji, who is the most hesitant about it, and Joker, who's like kind of ambivalent but like knows like it could be beneficial. Seeing that is kind of interesting. I also, and I want to shout out Persona in general, because this is something that's dropped so often, but they didn't drop it. So at the very beginning of the game, you have An's friend Shiho, who, attempts to commit suicide. And rather than making it to where it's just something that happens, she comes up repeatedly throughout the course of the game, and like An's relationship with her. Like there are links where you like go and you visit her in the hospital, or like An will be like, I can't hang out today, I'm going to visit her in the hospital. And like a lot of times, like if you have like a character who has like a friend outside of the story, they're just kind of dropped once the story starts and like those friends exist. But like that's something that I think the counselor even brings up to An, is like, hey, like your friend went through this, like that's something that has to hurt, like, how are you processing that? And like the fact that Shiho is not like something that's just completely dropped in Anne's story, and the fact that it's something that is brought up in her therapy too, like is a lot, because it's one of those things to where it's like these are things that kids actually go through in high school. Like, unfortunately, like there are some of us who might have had to go through something like that with a friend who was going through a hard time, or something like that. So the fact that there's time taken to talk about that, and to to be like, this is something that could impact you, like is really, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think the same thing with how Ryuji is like hesitant to open to Maruki, and then like I think Ryuji is like kind of overall like a more like keeps his emotions to himself. So like that final confidant moment where he does open up to Joker in the ramen shop is like even more impactful, because it's like it would be less impactful if that moment happened with Yusuke, because Yusuke is more in touch with revealing his emotions, where someone like Ryuji is not. Interesting.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, Maruki is a good character.
I wanna like also back like Ryuji. Like Ryuji is probably like after Yusuke and Futaba, and I think with Yusuke and Futaba it's just like for more like I think Futaba is just like I think that there's a lot of benefit like with her like to story wise. Yusuke is more like a personal thing as well, and I just like his character. But Ryuji like also is just like I'm really surprised. Like first off, shout out to Max Middleman, because like his performance as Ryuji, like I after playing 2018, like my first thought, like very early into the game, like before I even like got to those emotional moments with him, I was like, how the fuck did he not get nominated for a performance award last year? Like, because he just, and Robbie Damon too as Akechi, both of them kill it, but I think that Max Middleman specifically is just like Ryuji's just such a unique character with such a unique personality, and like that moment, like as well, like hit hard for me too, Michael, because like I like when my when my dad died, my first thought outside of like calling my mom was just calling my friend, like my best friends, like and just telling them like, hey, my dad's gone, like just like I want you to know that I love you, because it happened unexpectedly. So it was just one of those things where it's like I just need you to know that I love you, man. Like if anything happens to you, like that I love you. Like I told, like I was telling friends, like please, like tell your parents that you love them. Like please tell them, like you need to know like what you want to, like it's a tough topic, but like you need to know what you want to do, what they want you to do when they pass, like how they want to be taken care of, things like that. And I'm sorry. I just think that and and it was just like, you know, and it's like situations like that, and also just like me like getting married soon, where you just like think about like that one person that like is always there for you at the end of the day, like no matter where you are, like no matter how long it's been that you've talked with them, that they're always there for you. They'll like always like call you back. They'll always hit you back up as soon as they can and say like, yo, what's up, dog? Like, I need you. Like, you know, and it's funny because like that friend for me was someone I've known since second grade. It was like the first year I moved to school, and like we're good friends up to this day. We're like, he's my best friend, and like I feel like in that situation, like I was like, of getting to know him, I was the Ryuji in that situation, where I was like the more knuckleheaded, like, and he was also, it is actually interesting that like he was actually like a very big bully to me. Like he was like, when he first met me, like he bullied me in elementary school, and it just got to the point where like I just was too stubborn to like say like, no, I want to be your friend. And he eventually actually got to know me for who I was, and you know, and again, like we're incredibly old friends, and like thinking, I don't know, just like when you brought that up, like I just didn't really think about it in that light, and it just like gives me, I already loved Ryuji as a character, and I think that just adds like just such a huge massive layer on top of that as my for my love for Ryuji. So like, yeah, man, shout out to that character, and what he means for you and for everyone else who loves that character. So
yeah.
Shit.
Cool boy.
This is a good conversation. Like I'm very happy that it was the six of us to talk about this stuff, because I feel like on like the surface level, Persona 5 clearly an amazing game. Has accolades, has a lot of, you know, critical praise. I'm sure it has the sales too for, you know, the type of game that it is. But I feel like to kind of dig deeper into some of the things that we loved and didn't like about the game, I think it reveals a lot of the emotional impact that the game can deliver to people. And I feel like we all had a lot of similarities, but also some like different opinions and different ways the game touched us. And I think, you know, having that conversation and sharing those moments, I don't know, for me, like I'm like super appreciative of this conversation, because I feel like it's made me love the game more. It's made me appreciate different things about the game. And I feel like, you know, especially in like current discourse online about games and stuff, I feel like there's a lot of like just really shitty things to read out there. And I feel like having this type of conversation with people who care, people who are passionate, and people who are like bringing their own personal life experiences into this type of stuff is just a really impactful, beneficial conversation to have. Whoever listens to this, and you know, I don't even care about that. I care more about just the six of us having the conversation. If no one ever listens to it, I don't care, because I feel like this conversation for me was enough. So I really, I don't know. I really appreciate you all for coming on and sharing these things.
This is why games are important and media is important, and this is why, you know, it's. Yeah, I'm sorry, my cat is yelling at me.
No, this is a cat-friendly show. For sure.
But no, this is why games are important, and this is why. God, I cannot think of what I was gonna say. I totally blanked. I had like something good to say, and I totally blanked. So just pass on me.
Well, I guess
cut it out.
before we wrap things up, was there anything that anyone wanted to mention about Persona 5 or anything? Get in there, drop it.
I just want to shout out that fist fight with Maruki on the bridge at the end, because that was like probably my favorite moment of the entire game. He's just like, "Did I fail?" And it's like, well, one, son, yeah, I kicked your ass, but two, like just that entire, like, it's such, like, we talk about the intimate moments, we talk about the personal moments. Like, this is a character, like we've said, like you've gotten to know over the game, has helped you tremendously, both talking about your experiences, learning from each other, and then ultimately having to combat them. And like you fight the giant robot fight or whatever, which is like a cool set piece, but just that intimate, like it's just you and him, you're laying it all on the line. You're like having conversation while like punching each other in the face. The music is just swelling in the background. And I just think it is one of the more personal moments for me specifically. And I'm sure many others, but I really love that moment. And I thought it'd be a shame if we didn't at least shout it out.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh man.
Great moment.
So one thing I think that I don't want to leave this conversation without mentioning is the fact that that moment where you choose to either give him the calling card or accept his terms. I think it's really important to see both. Of course, you're going to give him the calling card because that's what leads to the final fight. That's what you've been working towards this whole time. And that's what aligns with what the Phantom Thieves have been working towards. And then so you do that, and you fight him, and then you leave the world the way, or you then, make the world, it is what it is. But I think that to understand Maruki completely is to also go back and to that moment and choose to accept his terms and see what that's like, because that ending fucking hurts too, like in a very different way, in which I don't know, did y'all go back and do that?
I didn't do it, but
I didn't do it.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't think I watched it.
Because yeah, you can choose to give him the calling card and be like, all right, things. And I know Cam had mentioned like that Maruki constantly, once you get to that point, he kind of like keeps telling like, why aren't you accepting this? I think it's because he honestly believes that in what he's offering you, that it's right, and he keeps trying to tell you. And I understand that his character is frustrated in that way. Like, why don't you see what I see in this? Like, I don't think you understand what I'm trying to tell you. And then when you accept that, once you see his vision of the world, then you understand what he wants. And it's heartbreaking in a way of like, yes, this is an ideal world, but it can't be this way. This is not, like, life isn't neat. Everything is fucked up in its own way. And like, as much as we want a perfect world, there is no perfect world. And Maruki wants a perfect world, and you can see that in his vision. So I'm just telling y'all, like, y'all can go ahead and watch the ending, because I think it's important that you see Wakaba and you see Sojiro taking Futaba to school, and she's wearing a school uniform. They're taking her to school and shit, and then everyone's fine. And then there's also like everyone takes a group picture together. Everyone's happy, like everyone's got their shit together. Everyone's alive. And then it's like Joker, who kind of he's in on it too, and he gets a sense that something's not right. And then Maruki just passes by as a nobody, and then sees this unfolding, and he's like, all right, my work is done here. These kids are happy. Like, their lives are put together in a way. But in the same way, it's like, as tragic as all the shit that they've been through has been, it's like, that's kind of what makes them who they are. And that's just how the world ends up being for them. Shit's not perfect and neat. And it hurts to see, like, that's what life could have been for them. And I think that's really important to see. And like, when the credits roll too, there's a song that plays when you talk to Maruki. He has his own theme, and the roll credits changes to a remix of that song that plays. So you kind of get a sense of like, okay, this is his show. This is what he wants. these are his visions. And the way the remix plays, it's so somber. It's bitter. It's bittersweet. And there are still images that play as the credits roll. As I had mentioned, Sojiro and Wakaba are taking Futaba to school. Joker and Akechi are playing chess with each other, and then they just look so happy and just like chilling with each other. And there's all these images of like, I think Ryuji is like still with the track team, and just the perfect vision that everyone had of their lives are in that ending. But as the player, you know that it's not right, and it hurts so much. And I just need to get the full picture of what Royal is about. You need to at least see that, and that's all. That's that on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch.
Like,
that
they almost lose their sense of identity by not going through the things that they went through.
Yeah,
there's one thing that I was kind of like, that me and Brendan talked about before the podcast, that like we're still kind of curious about. Michael, like I'm sure you would know the best, but like, So what was the situation with Maruki in the cab at the end of on the true ending? Like,
Oh.
was it just like he got a change of heart, like he survived and he has a change of heart now? Is that basically it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
But,
Cam, you had mentioned this way back in the earlier in this thing, but you had mentioned that the final cutscene isn't as good as the original. I would agree with that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think that
and
in totality,
I'm not really saying like the end cutscene, but more of like defeating God of Control to the credits of Persona 5, and then like beating Maruki to the credits of Royal. That's like that whole segment, like not particularly like the final scene.
Yeah, I can see that. And also, like, last thing I'll say is that the song Sunset Bridge that plays on the final day when you have to say goodbye to everyone, that song fucks me up, and I cannot listen to it. To this day, I can't listen to that song because I'm like, oh shit, gotta skip. I'm not trying to cry on the bus right now.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. Like when I played Persona 5 the first time, when I had to say goodbye to everybody, I was just like, I don't want to say goodbye.
Yeah,
y'all are making me want to play this game again. I do not have time for this.
Yeah, I don't either, but I also that's tough. I will quickly.
No.
Oh no, go.
Oh no, what I was gonna say is I remembered what I was gonna say. This is why games are important, and I think this is games at their best. Whenever they can reach into people and have that sort of emotional reaction, and they can lead to emotional conversations like this and vulnerabilities, and like people being like, yeah, I identify with this and this is why. Like that is what makes like talking about video games and playing video games and being around people who also love them like so satisfying and so deeply rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't really think, besides mentioning the music, I don't think we like mentioned it at all. But like for me, this game is like the most stylish game ever. Like it has the best aesthetic. Like they go all in with everything, and it feels so good. And I hope that like other games can learn to be this way, because it's so satisfying. Like I love games that like have good art direction, and I think this is like in a class of its own. Like it is so well done, from the menus to the sound effects to just everything about it. It's just it is very hard to find something wrong there.
Well, I think especially in like in the AAA sphere, like because there's just such an emphasis on like realism and like, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I want to be able to see every single pore on their face, and like that's cool and all. But like as far as like I personally like stylized games. I think that's why I'm so drawn to so many like indie games, is because like I like the shit like Hyper Light Drifter and Katana Zero, and like I like it when people do like cool shit with Sayonara, yeah, exactly. Like so I love highly stylized, highly artistic games because I think it allows like creators to shine in a totally different way. Yes, it is technically impressive that you can make a game like Red Dead 2, but like I like the creativity behind, you know, some of these other titles. And I'm not saying that the people who don't do the art for those games are super creative and have like stuff outside of it, but I'm just, when you're striving for realism, you get realism. Mm-hmm. But like Persona 5 for like a big AAA title, like it has the artistry that some of these like the smaller games like take with them, and it's incredible. It is one of the most stylish games for sure.
I'm I think it also, one thing on the style is that it's also an expression of the characters. Like you understand who they are and how they move, what they're about. And just like their attitude comes through in the art style. So it's not just like looking dope for the sake of looking dope. It is how you come to understand them, whether it's their showtime or all out attacks or their silhouettes, or like when you scroll through your confidant list and their portraits in it. Like the way everything moves is over in 100-hour game. It's how you come to understand those characters. And I think that it's like I said, it's not just to look cool. It is an expression of who they are.
And that includes like all the Arcana stuff, which like we really didn't touch on, but like it may not be like perfect in those regards, but like there's so much about that element of things that they add into the characters and nuances of everything. And it's just very, very well done. I love it so much.
Like all of those art pieces for all the all-out attacks, like whenever a character is the one to do the actual attack, like just the splash screens with all their stuff is like so well done. And I think stylized games age really, really well. Like when you look back on them, like realistic games do too. Don't get me wrong, but like to a certain extent, it's like, oh, I could see the hardware limitations there or whatever. But like when you look back on something like a Persona 5, 10 years from now, let's say, I think that game is still going to hold up, like stylized.
That's
like
why Wind Waker's
100%.
Yeah, yo.
The last thing I wanted to ask everyone before we wrap things up, and if people don't have an answer, that's fine. But if you were in Persona, would you know what your either palace would be or what your Persona Awakening would be?
A garbage dump. Just like straight up like garbage barge.
Okay.
That would be my palace.
Goddamn. Shit. That is hard as fuck. Maybe my palace would be the Millennium Tower, and if you play Yakuza, you would know.
Yeah.
Nah. Damn. That's tough, man. I don't know. There's some personas that are like mythological characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if I were to dig into like Filipino history, I think Lapu Lapu. I don't know if anyone knows who Lapu Lapu is, but that's a myth. Like people say Lapu Lapu was real, but that was a like Filipino revolutionary in like the 1500s. No one actually has documentation of that, of who that person was, but by all means, it's like a revolutionary character who stuck it to the colonizers, and yeah, that's just how it's gonna be, man. I think it fits well into the themes of Persona. As far as my palace would be, shit, I don't know, man. The CBSI office.
Hell yeah.
Question.
There's no pressure. I know I'm springing this here at the end, so I mean, if no one has a off the cuff thing,
I feel like my palace would like maybe be an airport.
okay.
That's what comes to mind. And you know what's funny is I played D&D with Ian like a couple months back, and we did like, it was basically a Persona themed campaign because we had like personas in it and stuff like that. I was at a high school, and the persona that I made for my character, which maybe I'll just claim it for myself right now. So I was making it to where she was like Diva, right, from Overwatch. She had like a mecha.
Hell yeah.
And so so the persona was a mecha named Artemis. And you know what? Maybe that's just gonna be my persona because I want to. That sounds fucking cool.
That sounds cool. I changed my persona would be Miku. It'd be Hatsune Miku.
Miku, perfect. Yeah.
There it is.
I think my persona would be Hugh Jackman in The Music Man.
Okay, well, I want to have Revolver Ocelot now.
Greatest Showman?
No, I mean The Music Man.
Was he in The Music Man?
He's going to be. It's going to Broadway next year when Broadway opens back up. Eventually.
Oh, shit. That's right.
Oh. So yeah,
half my
Jesse,
life is Broadway.
your palace should be a theater, Jesse.
Like realistically, like if it's not a garbage dump, like yes, like my entire family history line and me is all Broadway, so theater would make sense.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, theater would be like a really cool palace too.
So yeah, really. I mean, really quick. I just watched that alternate ending, Michael, and you made it sound less bad than it actually is. So good on you for like it's worse than what he actually described it. So
like worse
anyway.
as it's bad.
It hurts more.
Like just it hurts more than what. Yeah.
Well, I need a good cry before I go to sleep. I can't wait.
Yeah. So anyway, but the my persona would be Orpheus, and part of that is due to a music fraternity I was in and the values that I learned in that fraternity. It's not like we didn't haze anyone or anything like that. I would not have. When I went into college, I was like, I am not going to join a fucking fraternity because I am not getting hazed. And then they were like, oh, there's a music fraternity, there's no hazing, and I never got hazed. So and honestly, like and while I don't like, I'm not like super connected to that fraternity now. The values that fraternity taught me definitely are important to me to this day. And I also just think some of those values were values that I already had, and just trying to, I think, just putting your trust in people, just putting your trust in yourself, and just trying to be a good person. Like, so like, like earlier today, I was like, oh my God, I wasn't really being rude. I'm like, for me, it's just like, I don't know. I'm just like, if anyone's rude about anything, I'm just like, why? There's no need for it. And it's just like, that's just how I am as a person. So like, it might be one of those things where it's just like, it seemed like an unnecessary, like, I feel like there's good fun, and then there's just being like blatantly rude. So I'm just like, so that's why I'm just like, I felt like that way earlier. And so yeah, so I just feel like that Orpheus represents like, both like just like the struggles as well as like the good that he experienced. Like I think that he like is really well representative of myself. So my palace, I don't know, probably either like, I don't know, either like a musical auditorium or a arcade, maybe.
Oh,
Those are really cool.
Fun fact, Cam, is that in Persona 3, you know how in P5 Arsene is your default persona?
Yeah.
In Persona 3, your default persona is Orpheus.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But,
cool.
Yeah,
I was like,
really
oh shit,
cool.
you should play P3 then.
yeah. And another thing that I want to mention, because like a lot of people like, I don't think like anyone really knows this, but like I actually come from a musical background. I'm a saxophonist. I'm a clarinetist. Like I've been like a musician for more than half my life, and it's like what I was doing before I got into like journalism and stuff like that. So but yeah, so that's kind of like why I went down that path.
That's what we would discover if we went down your full confidant arc. Like we would find that out.
Yeah, sure. I actually really want to buy a saxophone. I get like as soon as I have the money and start practicing again and post some videos on Twitter for you guys and things like that. But yeah.
So funny. It's like I actually was just thinking about the story the other day because it just popped up in my head. And I was always like really good at writing when I was like a kid and like growing up and stuff like that. My mom pushed me for the longest time to be a journalist. She was like, you should really go into journalism. You should really go into writing. And I went through this like rebellious phase when I was in high school, and I played bass guitar and stuff like that. And I remember being at the top of the stairs and my mom was at the bottom, and she was like, you really like, she was upset because I dropped like an AP like English course or something. She's like, you've always been a good writer. You need to do writing. And I was like, I will never be a journalist. I'm going to be a musician.
Hell yeah.
And now look at me.
Look at
that
us.
just reminded me of that. Like he's saying that, you've always been a musician and now you're doing writing. And I'm like, that reminds me of me being very embarrassing as a 14-year-old.
No.
But yeah. But
Michael.
jokes on me.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's time to think.
Fucking hell.
That was buying you time. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, honestly, my pals would just end up being like an empty room, and I'd just be sitting in the corner, like, well, you found the boss, guys.
This is my castle.
What do you want to do?
Would you say would you say like you'd be like in a prison then or something like that?
Oh, nothing so glamorous.
Okay.
It's just four white walls and him on like a folding chair in the middle of
or like
room.
an asylum,
So
yeah, like that. So if it was a prison, you remember like the prison that Magneto's in the X-Men movies? It would just be like
with like the big like glass
glass box. And I'm sitting there, except I won't be playing chess because I don't really remember the rules of chess.
You're playing
Great,
checker.
I love that.
for me, it would be like my palace would have to probably be a coffee shop of some sorts. Like it would be caffeine fueled nightmare for whoever came inside.
Just sounds like my life.
Yeah, exactly. It's just my life. It's just like a nonstop flow of caffeine.
All the people are like lined up on the walls with like coffee IVs, and they're just like sitting there, like just getting coffee injected into them.
Yes, pretty much. And then my awakening or my persona would have to either be probably a cat of some sort, or like, I don't know, like Dante Alighieri or something, like a old poet or something. Those would probably
cool.
be me. Because
what if it was Mr. Coffee?
I mean, can anyone really be Mr. Coffee?
I don't know. That's a brand of coffee pot, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to riff on it. I'm not funny.
Folgers.
I'm so stupid. I should have just made my persona. Do you know how many times in my life, and this is the weirdest fucking thing, I've been told I look like a cat? So I should have just gone with that, honestly. So I should just be a cat girl. That's my persona now. I changed my mind.
Oh shit! Have you heard of a game called Final Fantasy 14?
Fantasy 14.
Oh my
God.
God.
Was coming. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Ooh, can my persona be the Grimace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Grimace
Absolutely.
from like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's good.
Okay. To echo,
Gritty is also a good persona.
Gritty would be the hardest. Gritty is the Reaper of our Persona game.
Persona 6, Gritty.
But to echo Jess and Cam, I also have a hidden musical / poetic background. So
Ooh.
there's my confidant arc if you decide to max me out.
Aw.
Now I'm just thinking about a palace that's like a sketchbook, like kind of like how Madarame is, like you can jump through the paintings. But imagine you just had like a whole sketchbook and you were just going like page by page throughout an entire palace.
It's just
I
like
don't
the
know.
music video for like Take On Me by Aha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Persona Q3, but the palaces are randomly generated by people who are in the Miiverse writing on the Miiverse. That's
Miiverse is dead, dog.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They're bringing it back just for Q3.
It's just all the Splatoon 2 art.
I mean,
No, it's just like all the weird shit that I used to write on what was like the Nintendo with the stylus where you could just like write and have the chat shit.
PictoChat?
Like Nintendo DS, right? It had
Yeah.
PictoChat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
PictoChat.
PictoChat messages.
I'd play that game.
I'd fuck with that.
So I guess that wraps up our conversation about Persona 5 Royal.
Hey.
We didn't get to
We
talk
did
about
it.
Futaba, but Futaba's a great character.
You're telling me that whole time you didn't talk about Futaba?
Not like in depth, like we did Makoto and Morgana.
I mean, the floor is
Or
yours.
Ryuji.
The floor is yours if you want to end us on Futaba.
I want to hear this, but I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. Sorry.
Okay. Well, let's talk about something else while we're just talking about.
So,
Anyway, who haven't we talked about in the party? I mean, no one. I mean, I feel like we didn't talk about.
No, I think we hit almost everybody.
We're gonna hit all the notes.
We didn't really talk very much about. I would say, did we really talk about Kasumi that much? I think we did.
We started, but like not a whole lot. And I mean, I don't really have much more to say on her. Like again, like I think that like I really enjoy her. Like I enjoyed being like around her and hanging out with her and things like that. And I thought that like the stuff with Sumeri was interesting. I just I really didn't expect it. That's for sure. But yeah, I thought I just kind of wish that we had more time with her. Like that's just kind of like I think the biggest thing. Like
Yeah.
Maruki like kind of made sense. Like Maruki like definitely, especially when like Michael talked about Maruki more in depth. Like I definitely think that he like should have been in the like original version from the get go because he definitely fills that void there. But like with Kasumi, like you know, she definitely still feels a lot more shoehorned in just because you don't like have her properly in your party until the new stuff comes in. And like I get it for the sake of the story, but it's still just like really just disappointing in that sense because I know that like I would probably have had her like in my main party if for like the majority of the game once I got her.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there was some missed opportunities there to integrate her more into the game. But the floor is yours to educate us on why Futaba is so great.
Well, you guys don't think Futaba is great?
Oh, she's great. She's great.
Yeah,
I got nothing wrong
I
with
think
Futaba.
so.
I just think that like I mean I feel like I think that like Makoto has like a more of a role like ongoing. I think that like I feel like Futaba's introduction and like her arc is where the game like truly like starts, if that makes sense. Like I like in the sense of like this is where the game like finally fully opens up when you like travel around and things like that. There's like you know things that you still couldn't do until you know that arc of the game. And you know I wasn't like a huge fan of her temple per se, but I just felt like her story is just like the most personal, whether like you really relate to it or not. It's just like the most personal story. I feel like that like I feel like you know like how I said that I feel like I wanted Makoto to like grow and throughout, and I was like kind of disappointed where like that she didn't get to where I wanted her to be. Like Futaba, I feel like you know I feel like I got her like her full story in that one arc, and I didn't really need more after, but like it was still nice to see her like come out of her shell and like and learn how to you know be in society and like kind of like move on to in this like world, like knowing like, you know, just like kind of like accepting that like her mom's death and like and moving forward with that and getting you know, like when I think the most emotional I got in the first time I played through the game was when Futaba called Sojiro dad. I was like, fuck. I was just like, because that's what I was like waiting for the entire, because I was just so invested in her arc, and I thought, and like, you know, part of it is like I like quirky girls, like, you know, like I just like that, you know, and so Futaba's personality definitely was just the most interesting for me, and I don't know, I just think that like I get that there's some things to talk about with Futaba, like Sojiro's like, hey, you shouldn't date or make advances on Futaba, and I think that like, you know, because which was very like, I actually really like that scene simply because of just how we know how Sojiro is as a character. Like he's kind of like a like he likes to get like talk about the ladies and things like that, but then when it comes to Futaba, it's just like, yo, you shut this shit down, like you don't do anything, like he like, you know, he wasn't like making he wasn't making it sound like that, like I know that you're trying to go after her, but it was just more like, hey, like let's just have like a real conversation here and just like just get this like sweep this under the rug, like don't do anything with Futaba. Granted, like I still did, but like the reason why I did that was because like I don't think that Futaba, and I need to word this properly because I know that the like if I say this wrong, it can definitely sound wrong. But I just think that like Futaba, I don't think Futaba needs Joker. I don't think Futaba needs really anyone. But I do feel like that she, like I don't think she needs a partner. But I do think that like Joker is like the one that would like really, I feel like that would make her make her like release her wings and fly more than like anyone. Like I just think she has like that direct connection with Joker, that with that like experience that she had with dealing with the trauma of her mom, that like I just don't think that she would get that sort of connection with anyone else to that same level, if that makes sense. Where I just feel like it's not like it was like an obligation, but I was just like, I want to do this like for her, like in a selfless way. Like I think that this will like, you know, again, like I don't think Futaba really needs a relationship, but like I think that would definitely help with, you know, that growth that she is trying to accomplish, if that makes sense. I still think she would like get there, but I just think that like having Joker would help with it much more, if that makes sense.
Well, it's like the ultimate goal in a relationship is having a companion who like you can thrive with, you know, not necessarily that somebody you're codependent with or whatever, but like to have somebody who like can help you be your best self.
Yeah, exactly. And I loved hanging out with Futaba because like, I mean, she likes video games. I was like, oh, I like video games, and like she likes to be on the computer a lot. I'm like, oh, on the computer a lot. I don't know. Yeah, she just like matches my like personality the most. And I get like that. There's like the thing with the age, even though like she's technically a year younger than you, and then you do like, and she like both of you do have like birthdays, I'm pretty sure, like throughout the game. So it's like by the point that you can even romance her, like it's technically like not like weird in that sense, like by age. But I get like people think like, oh, like Futaba's like your little sister, like that's how I see her, kind of like Shinya with being a little brother, and I get that. But you know, I really enjoyed like going through Futaba's confidant and getting that kind of relationship with her like through the game.
I don't at all like shame people for like, because I know there's some people who are like that, who are like, oh, she's like, you know, I don't know, just make people feel gross for like choosing her. And I don't do that. But like for me personally, I don't see that there, just because I didn't feel like beyond like a brotherly type connection anything to her when I played the game personally. And like I don't know, like I said, I think that part of that's just like what you go into a game, and like I said, she reminds me a lot of my sister, so like I think that that's part of it too. And so, like, for me, like, I would see Futaba with somebody who's maybe a little bit more, like, nurturing and attentive, whereas, like, Joker's more quiet, aloof type, you know what I mean? And so, like, that's kind of why I didn't necessarily see that there. And I've always seen him more with someone like Makoto, because, like, Makoto is like a very assertive force, and like I don't know. It's to me it always seemed more balanced. I think that's the thing with Futaba for me is it always seemed like there was an imbalance there. Like there was like a power imbalance, and like she was like going through her own stuff. Like she needed like help outside of just like having a relationship. You know what I mean? Like it just always seemed like there was just something off about that dynamic. But that's just me, and like I'm not going to shame anybody for feeling differently.
Sometimes you just want someone to step on your neck, and I mean that's why Makoto's the best.
And I definitely feel like that there is the sense of like confidence and power that Futaba does get as you progress in the confident route. Like I do think that you see that even, and then there are those, and in the main story, but then like there are also those levels of the reason why I really like Futaba's route is because like you see like all sides of her. I feel like you see like the vulnerable, like the confused, the you know, like the sense of like trying to learn how to interact in society, and like the and also like a confidence as well of like getting the hang of things and like becoming like the woman she wants to be in this society. And yeah, and really like really like Futaba, I romanced her like 100% because of her personality and like what I like saw in her character. Nothing really to do with her actual like looks or anything like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt about Futaba. And then I think I really like how I really like how her story progressed like throughout the game, and how like she just kind of came into her own by the end of everything. So
yeah, I think she has one of the most interesting arcs. Like I do enjoy her story. I mean, it's integral to the game, both with her mother's and her research, and then obviously with Sojiro and Joker. Like she's like a massive part of the game. Like I definitely do enjoy her part of that picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Persona 6?
Persona 6?
Yeah, Persona 6 in 2035.
Starring Gritty.
Gritty, baby.
Yo, fucking hell yeah, let's go.
I honestly, like, out of anything, I hope like the theme color for Persona 6 is purple. I want it to be
purple. I was just gonna say
purple would be really good.
Yo,
Yeah.
I would love purple.
Purple's my favorite color, so I'm just like, please.
I would
yeah.
like them to maybe remove the school part and like focus it on adults just for a game, because I feel like there's a lot of different, like take out the whole romantic side of it and how that can get messy, because I'm sure even if they do adults, they'll still be young confidants. Like that will definitely be a thing.
I thought you were saying take out romance entirely, and I was like,
oh no,
Brenden,
no way.
If we get rid of school, romance, the metaverse, you want to just get rid? You want to make a different game?
There's just cats.
It's just
Only
Gritty.
cats.
It's just Gritty
It's just
hanging
Gritty
out
and
with the
cats.
boys.
No,
I don't
I'm
know. Like, what do you
totally-
want?
I'm totally cool with like college
Gex
or
is there,
older.
Brennan.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Gex is there.
I mean, Gex could be
It's
there.
Gritty and Gex. It's a buddy cop movie.
I think I just think that, you know, they could tackle a lot of interesting topics, and if you remove the age thing, I think that would I don't know, I think it could connect on different ways for different people.
Totally.
Yeah, and also I want it to be a female protagonist. Like let's just you know, we've gotten 3. I mean, you know, granted, like, you know, 3 portable has a female option as well, but like I want like I just want a change of pace there, and like, you know, like it's stupid that it has to happen, but I feel like if Atlas were to implement any sort of like you know, LGBTQ like romance, like I think they would try it more with a female protagonist before a male protagonist, which is stupid again, but like I just like knowing how they like Japanese games and how Alice has been doing things with their game, like with like Persona 5 Royal and previous games and things like that. I think that would probably be the better option, but what do I know?
Bisexual women are usually more like accepted and fetishized. So it's like unfortunately that's kind of
exactly, like it's stupid, but like I feel like that would be the most likely that they would implement something like that. But you know, that's something I would love to see in Persona 6. And I mean, I like the school stuff. I mean, like not particularly the school stuff, but I think that like a big selling point about Persona is the high school relations, like in gaining those friendships like as if it was high school. So I don't know about that particularly, but yeah.
I
They
think
could
that
do it out of college though and wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah.
You could do a dead end 9 to 5 cubicle job.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be thrilling?
Oh my god.
I'd be about
They go to the metaverse when they meet up at the water cooler.
They open up an Excel spreadsheet and it takes them in.
What I will say is that P3 Portable, the female protagonist, is very good. So if they were to go that route, they fucking should, because they have done it well before. And I would like to see it again, because she is also the best Persona protagonist in the series, along with Maya from Persona 2. So
Really?
they can do it.
I need to play some of the older ones. Got to get on that. I don't even know how to play 3.
3's on Vita, PS3. Unfortunately, I mean Vita's fine.
I think I have my Vita accessible.
But I found this out after I bought it. After I was talking to you, Michael, about it. But P3P doesn't have the answer, which is only in FES, and that's like basically like an epilogue stuff. And I'm just
it's not great like gameplay wise, but I do think it's essential.
Yeah, so I'm just like now, and I don't have a PS3, so I'm just like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm hoping that they port it to PC at the very least, because they just did with Golden this year. So that, like, honestly, I'm just like holding out, hoping that that's what they're gonna do. So
let me tell you about something that starts with an E and rhymes with mulators. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I got it.
There it is. So, last call on Persona 5. Do you feel justified, Cam?
Mike's got. Oh, okay.
Oh.
What was the question?
Trying to think. I'm looking through the characters right now.
We didn't talk about Mishima because he's trash, so we're fine.
I was gonna say I was like, who actually likes Mishima here?
I like Mishima. He's cool.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Honestly, when I see Mishima, I see outside of Ryuji, I'm just like, I see like a mixture of me and Ryuji and Mishima as myself. So I'm just like, I can see it.
Yeah, he's all. I think what
he's
happened
fine.
was my first couple playthroughs. So when I played vanilla the first 2 times, I don't think I maxed him. Oh, maybe I did max him out. I forget. But basically,
best confidants.
No, but basically, because again, my first playthrough, like I didn't know what I was doing, so I only ended up maxing out. I think I only maxed out Takumi. I think that's what happened. Besides the ones that were automatic.
You just saw those boots and
my man.
He saw the choker. It was the choker that did it.
I think what it came down to is I just mismanaged my time so much that I never got the stats to max out anybody else. So she just ended up being the person I maxed out.
Vanilla was harder to max that stuff out too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was.
So I blew it, but what was I going with that? So I didn't see his storyline really play out, and even though like his didn't even have any requirements, I think I just mismanaged my time entirely. So I didn't see his storyline play out until my second playthrough, and I appreciated it more, especially when you get to that part where he realizes that he's basically I forget the term now, but he's riding the coattails. He's riding the coattails of the Phantom Thieves to make himself more popular, and instead of fighting his shadow to make him realize that, you just have a conversation with the shadow, and he's just like, oh yeah, you know what, maybe I should pump my brakes a little bit here. So I kind of like that playing out with him. What was the actual question that we were going through right now?
If there's
like
anything else
characters
we wanted to, any characters that we forgot that we want to talk about. EY was great. EY was good.
Yeah.
So
kind of related to this. So when I was playing through Royal, and it was towards the end, and I was doing that whole thing in Mementos where you have to get to the thing so you could go further Maruki's palace. And all that time I was talking to Jose, and then you get to him at the end, he starts talking to you, and I'm like, all right, so let's find out what Jose is all about. And he's like, all right, I want to fight you. I'm like, this is not going to be a big deal, right? And then Rivers in the Desert start playing. I'm like, fuck, why did I start this?
I don't think I saw this.
Yeah, I didn't fight Jose.
I didn't know you could.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
I want to fight that child.
Yeah, wait, what happens when you fight him?
I didn't beat him. Like I tried it twice. I'm like, I don't have time for this, and I stopped. But basically, when you're going up mementos, I forget what you actually call that part, but basically in the third semester, you have to talk to him. You have to talk to him a couple times going up mementos, and there's specific times. Like the conversation changes when you talk to him. It's not just when you go there to sell flowers or whatever, but he has like specific dialogue that he says during those interactions when you're going up. And then if you do all those, then you talk to him at the top. He'll be like, I'm trying to figure out what humans are, blah blah blah. I think I understand now. I'll figure it out by fighting you. And he's a very difficult boss, which I did not realize until, again, Rivers in the Desert starts playing as soon as the battle starts.
And Final Fantasy,
I'm not prepared for this.
In Final Fantasy VII Remake and in Persona 5 Royal, they added a creepy little blonde, white-haired child, and neither one of them I was a fan. That's my take of 2020.
Well, let me tell you about Final Fantasy 16, because there is a blonde-haired child who can summon a fucking primal, an icon, a phoenix.
I'm so ready for that.
It looks really good. I'm excited.
Yoshi P.
I think
I'm trying to think about other confidants. I never finished the twins confidants, even though I really should have. It's just that I didn't feel like looking for whatever personas I needed to actually fuse. I got tired, so I got halfway through those.
Are those actual, like, is that actual confidants that you level up? Like
I think you can romance them too, which is kind of weird.
Whoa, relax.
No, I don't think you can.
Oh, I thought you could.
No, I think
I don't know. There's weirder things in the game.
Hold on, I'm gonna Google it.
Persona 5, where you can romance your teacher and child twins.
I know in Royal they added the bit where you can take them places. Like they say, "Oh, I want to go."
Maybe that's what I was thinking of then.
But I don't think you can romance them.
To be fair, taking children places does sound terrifying. So
no, it's more of like they're like, oh, what's this place? Show me what this burger shop is.
Yeah, no, I took them to the burger place.
That's how it starts. That's how it starts.
They are assholes about it.
Can you romance Igor? Because that's a missed opportunity. That nose.
We're just not ready for it yet. And I haven't beaten the twins either. The twins is a difficult fight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write some spicy fan fiction about Igor and that desk in the like little prison,
Stand up and make. Get over there. Igor wants to talk to you.
I hate all of this.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. I think
we need to stop while we're ahead.
Yeah, this is a good time to wrap this up. So first of all, I want to thank again everyone so much for coming on to talk about Persona 5. I think 3.5 hours later, it's very clear that this game is impactful to us. But before we roll out, if everyone wants to take a moment to let people know where they can find you, plug any relevant things you want to talk about that you're working on or just did or have coming up or what have you. I'll just go in order on my screen. Michael, if you want to kick it off.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me and all of my bullshit at Michael P. Higham on Twitter, where I am crying about video games, getting way too faded, listening to some hood anthems. You know what I'm saying? Getting down in this apartment. And then, like I said on the latest episode of GameSpot After Dark, check out Blessing Jr. at Blessing Jr. and try to line up the timelines of the things that we are tweeting and figure out what the fuck is happening in this godforsaken apartment. So that's that on that. And yeah, I am also an editor and video host at GameSpot, believe it or not. And we have a lot of shit lined up. A lot of great people work at GameSpot, so you check out all their work on the website. For me, I'm working on, I did an interview with the localization director from Sega, who worked on Yakuza 7 or Yakuza Like a Dragon. Sorry.
Hell yeah, you did.
Yeah, that's coming. That's some fascinating stuff there. We have a bunch of.
Is it spoiler free? Because I haven't finished Yakuza 7 yet. Can I? No. Should I wait?
When I publish the article, it would be very clear what's a spoiler and what's not.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Because there's like fascinating things that he told me about that's not a spoiler related. And then there are some fascinating things that are. So I'll look out for y'all. And yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff on GameSpot that we all do together.
Cam, what about you?
Yeah, you can follow my writing at DualShockers.com, and you can follow DualShockers at DualShockers. You can follow me at Cam Final Mix on Twitter, and I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/CamFinalMix.
What are you
And
streaming
right
through
now, Star fucking Renegades. Let me tell y'all, this game better. Like Jess, I love you. This game better than Hades. It's better than Hades. Like, it's a roguelike. It's turn-based combat. The systems are super deep and detailed. Like, I've played like 5 hours, and I played it first on Monday, and I've been playing through 13 Sentinels. But in my back of my mind, I'm just like wanting to play Star Renegades. That game.
Zagreus in it?
Star Renegades.
No. But there
You
is
lost
like
me.
there's
You
a lot
had
of
me, you
fucking,
lost
though.
me.
but
Star Renegades has a lot of
Does
fucking.
it? Is it horny?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
horny? Oh, wow.
It's not as horny as Hades, but it's horny.
It is on
Okay.
Game Pass
Anyway.
too. I don't know if it's on PC,
It's-
but it is
yeah.
on Xbox Game Pass.
It's on
Okay.
Game Pass for console and PC,
Okay.
and it's on
Well, I
Switch.
have
You can
Game
buy it on
Pass.
Switch. It is incredible. It is currently I think it's currently my runner-up for Game of the Year. Like, I like it that much. Like, it's real good. But I haven't played Yakuza yet, so I'm trying to get. That's like the next big game I need to try and get into. So, but yeah. So play Star Renegades if you like turn-based combat and roguelikes, because it is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm also playing 13 Sentinels in general, and that is, I'm still pretty early in that, but it's pretty good so far. Also an Atlas published title, so since we're Persona's an Atlas game.
Jesse, what about you?
Damn, I gotta follow that up. Shit. You can find me on Twitter at Jesse Vitelli, just my name, nothing fun. I write at Prima Games. You can find some really fun Game of the Year shit that's going up this week and next week. I don't really do anything else other than that. I stream occasionally. I kind of took this week off because I've been sick, but not too sick to do this with y'all fun-loving people.
Hell yeah.
But I've been streaming Dragon Age Origins for the first time, and that game is something.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/Jesterfer, JESSTERFER.
Thank
That's
you
all
for
I
showing
got.
so much. Jesse shows a lot of love to me as well, and I appreciate you so much. And I'm glad that we get to have face to face here.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It feels good, man. It feels good.
You gotta love it. Jessica, what about you?
You can find me at Just Jess is Fine on Twitter. I am the managing editor at Uppercut, which you can find at Uppercut Crit on Twitter. And we are, I don't know when this is coming out, but we're doing our end of the year content. And so we are going to have like 30 articles over the course of 60 weeks. And it's just going to be about, it's each one focuses on one game that came out this year. I am doing mine on Final Fantasy VII Remake and Hades, because those are my top two. And then, yeah, I write for Paste. I have some stuff coming out on oh my God, I can't talk. Over on Uprocks, and then on Collider as well.
Hell yeah.
Killing it.
Very busy.
Killing it.
Very busy.
Are you
Thank you.
kidding me right now?
I found someone that's busier than Cam.
I'm not even
It's
busy.
it
Stop.
doesn't
You
stop.
you sell me way too hard. Like I like.
Cam,
I
you're out here
appreciate it.
killing it in these internet streets. Are you kidding me right
Yeah.
now?
No,
Push
I'll
Shaw.
get on it.
Push Shaw. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Modest.
Yesterday I had like an existential crisis because I realized I'm like, I have 4 stories and edits and nothing to write. Like, it was amazing. I could play a game I wanted to play. I started The Last of Us 2. It was like the greatest day of my life. It was so good. My semester is over.
I'm curious to see how you feel about that game as you get through it. Did you like the first game?
I didn't play it.
Oh, now I'm
But
even more
I've-
interested to see what you think.
I played it somewhat, and like I know the whole story, and I actually know the whole
Okay.
story of 2, but like it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I'm not gonna play 2 because I haven't played the first one. I'm like, I'm never gonna fucking play this game if I don't just play it. I'm gonna play it
I
anyway.
definitely
Long
get that.
outro.
It's all good.
Mike, where can people find you?
They can't.
I'm a ghost.
So
Incredible.
jealous.
Incredible.
Amazing.
That is Mike's
Sounds
persona.
good.
That is who Mike is.
Actually,
So
I thought
good.
about it, and Brennan's persona is Gek, correct?
Oh, damn it.
Oh, it is.
Stop.
It is.
I'm never
Yeah.
playing Fortnite with you guys ever again.
I'm
I'm
If
done.
that were the case, Brendan would never be in my party altogether. Like, I would just never pick him, and just like, I don't feel like dealing with this.
Mike would not know what my confidant arc is because he would never talk to me.
Yeah,
Rightfully
I'm okay
so.
with that.
Mike already
We're
doesn't talk
perfect.
to me.
What perks do you bring to the table?
I have cat pets available, so like you can have a cat to always pet. And if you get me to level 5 confidant rank, I will like if you get low on SP, I will like shove coffee down your mouth and you'll get a full magic meter back. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
That would have been such a. That would have been. It's
No
way
pun
too late
intended,
now.
right?
But that would have been such a fun feature. Like, oh, what would have happened if someone got to your max 10 confidant rank that isn't a romance or something like that? But it's too late for that. We're too
I'd
far
write
gone.
you a poem. Anyways,
this
is I love Mike. Mike is my fucking homie. I consider Mike a brother. This is Mike and my relationship. Mike, I live in Salem, Massachusetts. Mike moved here like maybe 2 years ago. Mike didn't tell me that he bought a house and moved near me until like it just randomly came up in conversation. That's our relationship.
That's amazing. I aspire to that level of intrigue and mystery.
Wait, he bought a house. You bought a house personally, Mike, or your parents did?
No, Mike did.
Really?
Sorry, I'm trying to like throw Mike's chips on the table here. I apologize, Mike.
That's a really cool achievement, dude. Like for sure.
Yeah, well, I didn't care about it that much, which was why I didn't bring it up. Also, again, I really didn't understand the proximity to Brendan's place until Dominic had pointed it out.
Mike, it's still a point of like, hey, I bought a house. Like, you didn't even tell me that much. It came up in like, I'm actually pretty sure that Dom is the one that like brought it up in conversation. I was like, Mike, you fucking live down the street. What are you talking about?
We love player housing here, so hell yeah.
Anyways, as always, you can find me at Big Room. You can find Pass the Controller at Pass Controller, or all of our stuff at passthecontroller.io. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to this episode for Persona 5. Definitely check out all these fantastic people and the stuff they have going on because they all kill it. They're all doing amazing things. And I aspire to be more like these people on here. And I'm very happy they took the time to talk to me and Mike for almost 4 hours. I apologize in advance. But thank you so much.
Thankful for you having us here. Thank you.
Hey, shouts out to you, man.
Until next time.